What is up, everybody? Welcome back for another live Q&A. Ask the Expert. Hope you guys are doing super well. I saw an infographic the other day that shows snow covers more than 75% of the continental United States. So there's a pretty good chance wherever you're watching us from, you're also snow covered. Hope you guys are staying warm and somewhat dry. As you guys are coming in, be sure to let me know you're here by let me know where you're from and saying hi. And always like to greet you guys and kind of keep a mental picture, mental map of where the Fence family is at any given time. Let's see. Let's check in with Bo. Bo was here right in the beginning. Bo Butler, what is up? He is checking in out of Denver. Hope you fared well through this weather. Bo, appreciate you. Of course, we've been, as a fence company, we haven't been doing much. So here in Southwest Missouri, it's warmed up to a balmy, I think it's up to 18 or 19 degrees. It there for a while. I think the lowest we got down to was like negative 15. It had a wind chill of like negative 30, though. So got a little bit colder earlier this week. We got something like 6 or 7 inches of snow, which for us is a lot, but for you guys there in Denver is probably not much. We're kind of rushing around today, the studio space at least, to do this live broadcast from, do all of our videos from. Had a bit of a plumbing issue during the week. It got so cold it burst some pipes and flooded a little bit in here. Luckily, this particular studio wasn't affected, but it was a little bit. We had a few challenges getting in and getting everything all set up. So scrambling around a little bit for the moment. I usually like to get in here a little bit earlier and get set up to where I'm ready to talk to you guys and kind of get my thoughts together on what we're going to talk about. But anyway, one way or the other, let me know how you guys are doing, how you guys are faring. Let me know how the weather is treated. If you guys are fencing contractors, how the weather's been treating you guys. I think the last production day we had at Ozark Fence was last Monday. So a week ago, this past Monday, we got about half a day of production in, and then it started sleeting and icing up. So we went ahead and called all the trucks in right around lunchtime and sent everybody home, and haven't had a truck back on the road since. So we've been having some downtime, which, I mean, it's wintertime, right? You account for some downtime. Typically, in a typical winter, we account for about 3 or 4 days a winter of not being able to run trucks on the road. It might be cold, it might be a little snowy, but we generally get trucks out there. So right now we're on, what's that? So it's been a week and 3 or 4 days, and likely, so this 5 or 6 inches of snow is going to melt over the weekend, and plus it's supposed to rain over the weekend. So I have a feeling we're not going to get too much production work done next week. I'd be really concerned with how soggy yards are going to be. We certainly don't want to take equipment into yards and tear them up. So we're going to be doing a lot of work on the new building. So updates for you guys. Tentatively, fingers crossed, we're supposed to have the internet moved over on March the 5th, which is a Friday. So hopefully the Ask a Fence or Ask the Expert live Q&A will be done from the new studio following, the Thursday after March 5th. Not great with math. Whatever Thursday that is, we ought to be live the following Thursday. So, all right, what is up, Kevin? Chicagoland area. Hope all is well. Kevin, everything's going well here. I hope everything's going well with you guys. Chicagoland. So you guys got quite a bit of cold. I think, if I remember right, you guys got quite a bit of snow, too, from the lake effect, I do believe. So I hope you guys are staying bundled up and staying safe out there. What is up, Walter? Hi, Wally from Ottawa, Canada. Fence all for all your fencing needs. I love it. What is up, Wally, from the Great White North? So we're getting a little taste of the Canadian weather down here. Like I said, it got down to about negative 15, so wind chill negative 30, and a bunch of snow. For us, a bunch of snow, which is, 6 inches or so, 6, 7 inches. Depends on where you were and how much fell, of course. But in our location, we got about 6 or 7 inches of snow. You guys up in the Great White North, I believe you measure your snow in feet. So not much compared to you guys. That brings something up. So I said, what is up, Kevin and Bo and Walter? But it's been brought to my attention that too many YouTube channel creators start their broadcast with what is up. I didn't realize that I was also saying that. I watch a lot of YouTube content, so I'm sure I'm parroting what I hear on other channels on my channel. So I'm going to, instead of what is up, so someone brought this up in a comment, said, every channel I watch begins it with what is up, and I'm tired of it. So whoever that was, I apologize. I don't mean to say what is up like all the rest of the channel. So we will simply say welcome back. How about that? We'll say welcome back, Fence fam. Glad to have you guys back. So here in a few minutes, here in just a little while, we're going to be joined by Caleb Roth. He's currently traveling back to his office, but once he gets back in and connected in, we'll be bringing him on and to talk about. He's got the Staining University combined with Fence Installation School, rather, next week. And now that it's next Thursday and Friday, I'll be flying into Nashville. It's just outside Nashville in Lebanon, Tennessee. I'll be flying in Wednesday and talking to Sean King's Fence Academy on Wednesday, and then Caleb Stain and Seal University on Thursday. So if you guys are planning on attending, I'd sure like to hear about it here. Drop me a note in the comments, and I'd sure like to look for you guys. Of course, what I'm going to be talking about is a little bit on marketing, but they have just a little bit of everything there as far as the staining school. So Caleb had Staining University last year in 2020. I attended that, and seems like it was just staining. So it was a one-day event last year, and they talked for everything from deck staining to fence staining, fence and deck cleaning. They did a little bit of like business operations school in the morning, so that was always nice. I'm looking forward to participating this year and giving a talk on marketing, and specifically live video, and just kind of sharing my experience that reaching you guys and talking with you guys and how that's affected my business, Ozark Fence, here in Southwest Missouri. Because obviously this channel isn't Ozark Fence, right? This channel is Joe Everest, the fence expert, but it bleeds over into my business. So I'm going to share that experience with all those folks. But as you guys are joining us, why don't you drop a comment in the comments below. Is that what you say? I guess so. Say hi. Let me know where you're from. So far we've got Denver, Chicago, and Canada all represented. So Ottawa might be the furthest north that we've had so far in the comments, Fence Fam. Now, we've had them as far east as Europe. We had a gentleman from Europe comment. Boy, what's that been? It's been a month and a half, 2 months ago or so. One of the first live broadcasts we did. And then we generally have a pretty good representation all across the United States, east, west, south. Of course, I'll be looking for the Fence King and Fence Prince to show up. They're pretty much here every week, and they've got Louisiana pretty well locked down. Let's see here. All right, we're not going to say the other thing. We're going to say, welcome back, Brandon. Utah Deck and Fence will be there. I love it. Man, from Utah. Well, that's a haul for you guys. I look forward to seeing you guys. So I'm guessing you'll probably be there for the fencing side, probably for the staining side as well. You know, we haven't always offered staining. We've offered staining and sealing for the last, what's it been? 2 years, 3 years now. And I tell you what, for my fencing business, offering staining and sealing has been just, everyone uses the term game changer. So that's probably a little overplayed, but it's made a really nice impact on my business. I'm really glad I had met with Caleb. So first and foremost, now Stain and Seal experts do sponsor the live broadcast, and I appreciate that a lot. They're great guys and gals. Don't get me wrong. Ashley's not going to be happy when I just say they're a group of bunch of good guys. But first and foremost, I did business with them. We bought their Stain and Seals. We became an authorized dealer for Stain and Seal experts. And so I've used their product for quite a while, and I really enjoy it. I'm interested in learning even more about it when I'm there. So, Brandon, I can't wait to meet you guys there from Utah Deck and Fence. All right, so we've got Canada, we've got Chicago, Ottawa specifically, Chicago, Denver, and now Utah. Spreading the Fence Fam out. Oop. There we go. Well, guys, I tell you what, I don't have a strict sense of exactly what we're going to be talking about today. If you guys are just joining us, we had a bit of flooding here in the studio that I rent space at currently to do these broadcasts from. So I'm running a little bit by the seat of my pants today. I'm not going to lie. Usually I'm here a little bit earlier, and I've got a plan together on exactly what we're going to talk about, or at least a pretty good outline of what we're going to talk about. Today, we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants. I got in here literally about 5 minutes before this started and just kind of plugged everything in and turned everything on and just got to meeting with you guys. So if you guys have questions, comments, or anything like that, drop them in the comments below. I'm pretty good about being an open book, answering whatever questions you guys have as far as fencing-related questions, obviously, or business-related, marketing. A lot of times we get into fencing operation, fence company operations conversations. So I'm more than happy to talk about that as well. As I said here in a little bit, Caleb's going to be joining us to talk about Stain and Seal Stain and Seal University 2021. And as soon as he comes on, we'll be bringing him in. But so I hope you guys are staying warm, staying safe out there. Of course, I'm jealous of if my memory is right from the infographic, the West Coast didn't really get as much snow. I'm sure probably the Pacific Northwest got a little bit, but if you don't have snow right now, I'm completely jealous because we're dealing with the aftermath of snow right now. So it's a little mushy, and of course, fences or snow's piled up. We're not getting a lot of fence work done. So that's a question we get a lot with the fence company is, when do you guys, this time of year in the wintertime, the question is, when do you guys start building fence? I guess the notion or the misconception is that we stop building fence in the wintertime. And I'm sure in some markets, the further north you get, that's probably true. The ground gets frozen to the extent that it's not practical to install fence. That being said, I know there's some Canadians up there that build fence all year round. They just bring out bigger equipment and bore their holes. But I'm sure some of the northern United States probably doesn't install fence. But here in Southwest Missouri, we install fence all year round. Now, here's our policy, and every company is a little bit different, right? But our policy is if our local school district is closed, if they call off school, we generally don't work that. Well, our production crews don't go out that day. We still work. We have our office open, and guys that are looking to make hours come in and help either clean the shop or clean the office. Or what we've been doing the last couple of weeks is we've got a new office location right next door to our old location. And so we've been finishing up the office and finishing up the YouTube studio, which I'm incredibly excited to show you guys. So we've been doing that the last couple of weeks. But as soon as this snow clears, now I know the phones are going to start ringing Monday. The snow is supposed to melt off over the weekend. And all right, I'm going to answer this question. Surface Therapy, welcome back. Is your Kansas visitor there today? Put him on camera if so. He was here this morning. So Dan Hardy with Hardy Fence was here. Do I have his hat? I think I left his hat in my truck. Dan was with us this morning. So Dan came down from Kansas to visit with me, and we kind of had a day of it where he brought Dylan down with him, and we talked all things fence, and Dylan kind of shadowed one of our fabricators this afternoon and talked about how they fabricate gates. But no, Dan and Dylan, I actually left there in a rush to get back over here. They are safely on their way back to Kansas. They needed to get back home. And this live broadcast typically goes about 5:30, which would put them home a bit too late. So they're not with us today. Hopefully next time maybe we'll get them to stick around. What do you think? I bet if I asked them, they would have, but that would have made for a late night. But it was really good seeing Dan and Dylan. Like I said, they stopped by. Dan is actually the president of the Midwest chapter of the American Fence Association. So it was nice chatting with him a little bit about the AFA, but more about just fencing business in general. One of the things we do during the wintertime is we try to recompose ourselves, fix whatever's broke. But in the office, we're worried about or working on our business for the following year. And that's what me and Dan really, really sat down and figured out today is he had some questions. So Dan's actually moving into a new building as well. So Hardy Fence is relocating into a bigger location, a newer location. And he has some questions. So we're chatting about his business operations and numbers. I tell you one thing I'm impressed with Dan. That guy has his numbers figured out. And in the fencing world, it's not always so common, right? And these fencing groups that we're all in, a lot of times the question comes up, what are you guys charging for X, for 6-foot privacy fence? Or what should I be charging for this and that and the other? And that's such a problematic question. It's problematic for a few reasons. First and foremost, there's an antitrust issue, right? So it gets into price fixing and collusion and all that. And a lot of guys ask the question not knowing that they're skirting that line of kind of getting in trouble. Here's the thing. So there's the Sherman Act, which talks about price fixing, price collusion, price setting, that sort of thing. But one of the things that trips guys up is there's a term in there. And one of the triggers for this is price comparison. So price comparison is exactly what it sounds like. If me and Dan were sitting in a room and I said, hey, I build fence for this much a foot. And he says, well, you know what? I build fence for this much a foot. That's an illegal conversation because the idea is that conversation typically leads to, if I'm at, and just completely theoretical numbers, if I'm at $100 a foot and he's at $120 a foot, then after that conversation, I'm probably going to go, you know what? We should probably be at $120 a foot also. Maybe I'm just completely off. And that ends up with price fixing or price setting, which is a federal offense. It's absolutely against the law. So, and one, it's illegal, right? So that's a big problem with the conversation. What should I be charging for a 6-foot privacy fence? The next problem is my business and everybody else's business. Everyone's business is a little bit different. Sean and I talked to Mr. Finch, Sean King out of Indiana. We had this conversation last week that if him and I's business were exactly the same, we had exactly the same amount of employees, exactly the same shop, we would still probably be at different prices. We would need to be, because our labor rates are probably different. Our material rates are probably different. Our overhead most certainly would be different. So if I said I'm at $100 a foot and he's at $120 a foot, those are probably good numbers for our business, right? If we figured out the numbers. And that's the big thing. Wrap this all back around. That's what I like about Dan. So Dan's got a spreadsheet that he's put together that calculates all of his cost of goods down to the penny. And then it adds in his labor rate, which is a part of his cost of goods, the labor installation rate. Then it has his overhead cost, what it's going to cost to run this business on a monthly basis, the lease or the mortgage, the utilities, all the overhead that goes into it. So he knows his numbers down to the penny. And that impressed me. For quite a while, I thought I was one of the only people that did that really had a firm fix on exactly where things go down to the penny, where all the dollars go, and how I come to my price per foot. I think a lot of companies fall in a trap of because here's the thing is, in our market, I have a pretty good idea where my competitors are price wise, not because we discuss it and there's nothing underhanded going on, but a lot of customers share these proposals with us. If I'm at $4,000 for a fence, they might show me a competitor's proposal, says, well, they're at $3,600 a foot or $3,600 per project for this project. Could you match the price? And we can't, right? And we have the conversation of I really can't come off the price that much, because honestly, that's the profit I have in this. Most fence companies are running at a 10 to 15% net profit. Now, there's also a conversation to be had here, the difference between gross profit and net profit, right? But typically net profit is at the end of the day, when you pay all of your material vendors, when you pay all of your payroll, pay all of your building expenses, utilities, all of your overhead. If you pay everybody, at the end of the day, we're left over with about 10% for net profit. So on a $4,000 job, we've got $400 worth of profit in this. If we did the project for $3,600, we'd be sitting at no profit. We would have done this fence for costs, and we would be no better for it after the project than we were before. And for a business, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, I'm proud of Dan that he's got his numbers together. He knows his numbers down to the penny. I am really impressed with his business and how he has it going on. Welcome back. As Andy, is there a spacer to add to fasteners between wood post and picket on a 3.5-foot fence to let water run off so the fence will last longer? All right, let me reread this. Is there a spacer to add to fasteners between the wood post and the picket on a 3.5-foot fence to let water run off? Okay, so, and I probably need some clarification on this. So usually there's rails. Usually it goes, the post, the rail, then the picket. I think what your question is can you add a spacer between the post and the rail to keep water from pooling? Not that I know of, not that I've seen. I mean, I'm sure there could be one out there. I think your point is so that water doesn't pool on the 2x4 where it meets the post, maybe. I haven't seen one. I really haven't. And when we're looking at fence rot, that's not typically where we see rot come in on fence, right? We see rot typically at grade or a little bit above grade. I don't want to say I've never seen. I have seen rails rot on significantly older fences, but even then, it's not really where the rail is met the post. Where I see rot is typically on the top face of that 2x4, usually in the middle of the rail, because the rails over time, treated pine rails will start to sag, right? So all the rain that hits the top of that rail and that runs off the picket pools at the top of the 2x4, and then gravity pulls it to the lowest point on the 2x4. And that's typically where it rots. But more often than not, when we're seeing rot, we see it at the post, and we see it roughly at ground level. When Caleb comes on in a little bit, I'd like to talk to him a little bit more. We end up talking, having similar conversations, but I'd like him to talk again about the Post Saver product that they offer. I'm a huge fan of it. It's basically a sleeve, an impermeable sleeve that goes around the post, and it's essentially heat shrink. It acts essentially like heat shrink. You apply heat, typically with a torch, and it will shrink. It'll adhere this sleeve onto the post, and typically it sits up several inches above grade and several inches below grade, right? Typically at the rot zone. You see rot typically right at grade, usually because that's the aerobic zone of the soil. It's where all the microbes live that like to get in and consume the fiber in a wood fence and ultimately lead to rot. But no, to answer your question, I haven't seen a spacer to add to fasteners between the post and the rail. Interesting that you say 3.5 foot fence. I don't know that I've seen 3.5 foot fence, at least in our market. Typically 4 foot is the standard. Before that is 3 foot chain link. So 3.5 foot would be 42 inch. They do make a 42 inch chain link. Occasionally we'll build it, but in wood fence, typically the shortest picket you see is 48 inch, 4 foot tall. So interesting to hear about a 3.5 foot fence. I hope I answered your question. Probably didn't answer it too well just because I haven't seen the fastener, but maybe a little bit more clarification. I'd be happy to help however I can. Brandon says, I use a paper mouth lead generation, which was great, but just had some issues with really looking into bringing in-house. Any ideas? Maybe that was pay per month, maybe a pay per month lead generation. Here's my issue with lead generation is I like that you're headed to bringing it in-house. And the reason being, you know who your ideal client is, right? I mean, every company is usually a little bit different, but we all share, a similar customer, what do you call that? Demographic, right? So we know that better than anybody. And I find that by looking at my past year's data that says, we can look up jobs by zip code, jobs by, material type, that sort of thing, so that we can really laser focus in our marketing efforts to those clients. The problem with lead generation companies is they don't have a good sense for exactly who your customers are. They'll ask you, do you have an ideal demographic? Is it females between 35 and 55, or is it males and females, or married or unmarried, kids or no kids, pets or no pets? The problem is they're generally not great at delivering ideal customers. They're really good about delivering bulk customers, right? I mean, that's how they rationalize their cost. Whether it's a pay per month or a pay per lead, they're generally incentivized just by providing as many leads as possible and letting you kind of sift through them and sort through them. I like doing lead generation on our own because I can target more specifically the clients I need to speak to. And by hiring a lead generation company, essentially what you're paying them to do is to compete with you for organic traffic, right? So ideally, you would like to go find your own clients. Even if you have a lead generation company, you're still trying to find your own clients. But at this point, you're paying them to compete with you to go find these clients. There's only a set amount of clients in a market. There can only be a finite amount. It cannot be infinite. So what you're paying them to do is to try to go find these clients more efficiently than you, I guess. But ultimately, it ends up with them competing. So what we typically do, so your question was looking to bring it in-house, any ideas? So typically where we start off with is with video, because we try to reach out via social media. We try to figure out where people's attention is, right? Where do they spend their time? And typically in this day and age, it's social media, right? So we tend to stay on social media. It's typically Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just because the simple fact that you're watching me here kind of proves the point that people are moving more to social media, and specifically to video, right? So the thing I love about video is it allows you and I to form a bond, right? We can interact via the chat here in the comment section, and I can speak to you and answer your questions. We can form a rapport and build a bond without it ever of meeting each other. And then when we do meet each other, it's like we've always ever known each other, right? I don't know if that's ever happened to you where, I'll watch YouTube channels and I'll feel like I know these people because they've shared their lives with me. Maybe we've interacted in the comment section, but really I feel like I have a personal connection. I've never met them until I do meet them in person at a convention or somewhere like that. And it's kind of it's kind of this weird thing because we're technically meeting for the first time, but I feel like I've known them for years because I've been following them all this time. I'll give a good example for my business. We do a fair amount of video in our Facebook feed, and where we're simply saying, "Here's who we are in Ozark Fence. Here's what we believe is important to our fencing clients. Here's what we deliver. And here's what should be important to you as a client. Where whether you do business with us or anyone else, here's what you should look for in a contractor. Here's the materials you should use, that sort of thing." And we did a lot of this. I did a lot of this specifically for our business when we were first starting this up. My sister Sarah now runs our residential division, so she's doing a bit more of it than I do now. But it was me, and it was me just sitting in front of a camera saying, "Hey guys, it's Joe with Ozark Fence, and I want to talk to you today about why cedar materials should be your priority over a treated pine, because it's going to be a better look, because it's going to be longevity, on and on." And one product that I've been using for, gosh, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years, it's been quite a long time, is Postmaster steel posts. And we've used them since, because they were the original post, right? At the time, they were that style of post. Since then, there's a few other, competing posts in the market. Lifetime Post comes to mind, but purpose-built steel post, right? But at the time, it was Postmaster. And so we did a video where we said, "Hey guys, Joe with Ozark Fence, I want to introduce you to a new way of building your fence, and it's with a steel post, and it's called Postmaster. And here's why you should why you should request this post, because it has a lifetime warranty, because it has a wind load rating of 72 miles an hour, because it's galvanized, so it's not going to rust and corrode. It will not warp and twist." Anyway, so we did a series of these videos, and then one day I went up and I knocked on a lady's door to do the consultation for her fence, and she answers the door and she looks at me and she says, "Well, you're the guy on Facebook. You're the guy I always see saying, 'Hey guys, it's Joe with Ozark Fence.' That's you." And and this would happen occasionally. So I had a little skit to go with it. And I said, "Well, yeah, of course it's me." I said, I'm too cheap to pay somebody to do this for me. And if I did pay somebody to do this for me, they wouldn't look like me. And we had a chuckle about it. And then we went in the backyard. So she already knew me. She already felt like she knew, liked, and trusted me. That's why she called us, is because I was consistently showing up in her video feed. And then we go into her backyard and we're measuring it. And I said, "Miss Customer, we do things a little bit differently than some of the others in the market. We only install steel posts. And the reason we do that is because it's a better post and it'll last longer." And she said, "Oh, that's right. Is that the post, something about the post, the post?" She was getting to Postmaster, right? And I said, "Oh yeah, that's exactly." She goes, "That's a video I watched before I called you. Is that the metal post, but you don't actually see it, right? But it's got a lifetime warranty and it's really strong." So that's right. She goes, "That's exactly the one I want. And I want cedar materials, because I remember you telling me that cedar materials will last longer than treated pine and they look a little bit nicer. And I'd like to have a nice looking fence." So what this told me is she had consumed these videos. She had watched them and she did some research, I'm sure, on the side, but she knew before I showed up who I was and what I was there to talk to her. And she already knew exactly what she wanted in her yard before I even had the chance to talk to her about it. So now, in terms of our journey and our conversation, we're already 2, 3, 4 steps ahead, right? At this point, she knows exactly what she wants. I'm there to confirm the measurements and talk to her about the pricing of the project. If I hadn't done video, if we relied solely on SEO or, pay-per lead, she wouldn't have known me from anyone else that knocked on her door that day. We ended up building the fence for her. And I don't know if she got other bids. We certainly didn't talk about it. But even if she had, I have to think that we were already, again, 2, 3, 4 steps ahead from our competition, because at the time we were the only ones doing this, right? Now, excuse me. Since then, some more of our competitors are starting to do video, which is great. They've seen it work and they want to do it too. So, now we're trying to figure out the next step, right? Where we're doing more live videos, because a lot of their videos are recorded, that sort of thing. So my idea, what I'd ask you to do, or what I'd recommend you do, Brandon, is start doing live videos. And the reason I say live videos is this: when you're doing recorded videos, you really have the tendency, and I do this all the time still. I did it more in the beginning. I still do it now, where I'll catch myself saying and or I'll use not a wrong word, but not the word I was looking for, and I'll stop. Okay, well, let's start over. And then we'll start the whole thing over again. And it takes 2 hours to record a 7 or 8 minute video because we're stopping every time I feel like I misspoke. Whereas with live video, just like we're doing right now, you can't stop it. You put your message out there and then you press send. Well, and there isn't a press send, right? Because you're putting it out there, but you provide your message and you put it out in the world as you're saying it. So in one of the social media conferences I attended, gosh, it's been a year or two ago, was this saying stuck with me, and I don't know who said it, but it resonated with me, that done is better than perfect, right? You can spend weeks trying to perfect the perfect video, to say every word exactly right, to deliver it with a correct inflection and so that you're trying to pass along the exact correct meaning of each and every word. And you can really work yourself into, like I said, 2, 3, 4 weeks of work, and then editing it and putting the right song behind it, or maybe no song and maybe the right transitions. Whereas with live, you get your message out right away. And honestly, you're more relatable with the ums and ahs and you knows, because you're talking like a person. You're not talking like a paid actor that has taken 32 takes to get it exactly right. I would recommend, Brandon, wrapping this whole question up, that you start with live video. And live video is as easy as pulling up your business Facebook page, and there's a live button, and you can literally press go live, type in your title, right? And then you press go live. And then it's literally, hey guys, it's Joe with Ozark Fence, and today I want to talk to you about whatever it is you want to talk about. You know, I feel that we're different because we offer this, that, and the other. Is one thing a lot of guys do. I would challenge you not to use the comparison model. What makes us different? I would challenge you to simply bring to your customers what they need to ask for in a contractor, or what they need to look for in the perfect fence, or the perfect deck or landscape, or whatever industry you're in. Just say, hey, just like what we did with the Postmasters. If you're building a fence, you should really ask for these Postmaster steel posts. They're a purpose-built post. Here are all the benefits. Regardless if you do business with me or anyone else in this market, you should request these posts because it'll make for a better fence. And then you would be surprised how many people pick up the phone and call you and say, Brandon, I'd really love to talk to you about the product that you just talked to me about. I'd like for you to come out because I listened to you and I researched a little bit. That's exactly what I want. Really long-winded answer, but I hope that's helpful for you, Brandon. If not, leave me a comment below. I'd be more than happy to help you. But start with live video. Welcome back, Clint from Tennessee. I'm planning on building a DIY 4-panel farm fence with welded wire. Do you recommend Postmaster post, round post, or square post? Well, first and foremost, Clint, we don't do agricultural fencing. We've kind of niched down into both residential and commercial fencing. We don't typically do agricultural. We don't typically do a lot of governmental work, that sort of thing. We've kind of picked our niche. There's other guys. There's other YouTube channels specifically. There's SWI Fence, Mark Olson. Those guys do a lot of commercial fence. They do a lot of ag fence. You could probably try to search their channel. It's SWI. Try to find Mark's channel and ask him. Or actually, so Mark will be a guest on here in the next month or two. He's going to get down our way from Wyoming and come on the show and answer a few questions as the agricultural expert. But to answer your question, Clint, I'm not the ag guy. I don't do a lot of ag fence. Now, I will say this. Postmaster posts are purpose-built for wood fencing. They wouldn't make a great agricultural fence. I wouldn't think. It could work, but there's probably, you said 4-panel, so maybe you mean, so in different markets, different fences and different designs are called different things, right? So 4-panel fence, it might be what we call 4-rail, meaning that it simply is like what it says. So you have posts every 6 to 8 feet. You have 4 horizontal rails, typically like a 2x6. If it's that style of fence, the Postmasters would be great because they're purpose built for wood. If it's a different style of ag fence, then you'd probably be better served with a purpose built post for that application. Yeah. Hope that was somewhat helpful. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big agricultural guy. We don't do a lot of agricultural fence. So my knowledge there is pretty limited. And he says, having to move a chain link off a gas line, city won't allow 4 foot tall near to the street. So I'm going to try a 3.5 foot fence. Oh yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. Okay. So where we are, Springfield, Missouri, we had, I believe for years and years, I believe it was a 36-inch height restriction on the front yard fence. Any fence installed forward of the front corners of the house or of the structure. They've since gone to a 48-inch fence, but okay, yeah. So I can understand where you're coming from. 3.5-foot fence. You'll probably have to, if you're doing a wood fence, you'll probably have to custom cut those boards down. You'll want to check the stipulations too on exactly what type of fence they allow in the front yard. Here in the city of Springfield, so they ask for a 50% opening in any of the fence, which means if it's a picket fence that uses a 4-inch picket, they want a 4-inch gap. That's why you typically see a lot of chain link fences or ornamental steel or aluminum, because they meet the more than 50% open requirement, and you can get them in a variety of heights. Always happy to answer your question. All right, guys, I'm seeing our guest, Caleb. He's popped up in my queue, so I'm going to bring him up right now, and then Caleb and I see your guys' questions, and we're going to get to those questions. I'm going to answer each and every one of them, but I want to bring Caleb on right now because I know his time is very important. Caleb, what is up?
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
Caleb, I was telling everybody I was corrected, or I guess corrected in the comments of some of my videos that I say what is up too much. That a lot of YouTube creators, they all start their videos with what is up. So I'm making an effort to say welcome back. So Caleb, welcome back.
I agree with him, Joe. It's overused. So yeah, glad to be here.
All right, let me get us all together here. There we go. There we go. One more step. Where's the background?
You put snow in the background.
Yeah, we really should. Yeah, a live action shot, which actually it wouldn't be live action anymore because luckily the snow is stopped. We're just left with the aftermath. What's it like out there in Nashville?
Well, I could turn the camera around and you could see it's just snow coming down like crazy.
Is it still snowing?
Oh yeah, snowing. It is. We had a couple days of ice, and now we've got a couple days of snow. So We'll see how it goes.
How much snow do you think you guys have had so far?
I think we got 4.5 or 5 inches overnight, and it's been snowing all day. So it's a really fine powdery snow, though. It's not. I think it looks kind of like feathers coming down right now. But yesterday it was really, really fine, really fine, just specks coming out of the sky.
That's what. It's kind of like what we have. We're really dry snow. It doesn't pack well at all, which means if you're scraping your lot, it's frustrating because it won't pack together and move out. It just fluffs everywhere.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Kind of like the good old days when I was a kid.
Well, that's what me and one of our guys were talking about. I was like, I haven't seen a snow like this since I was in probably middle school. We built snow forts, and the city shut down for like a week or so. It seemed like.
Yeah.
Now, so I feel for kids now. My daughter in their school, they don't have snow days anymore. They just have mandatory virtual days. So they all have Chromebooks, and so they don't go to school. They just all get together on Zoom. They're not Zoom calls. Zoom's a brand, but they get on video calls and do all their learning virtually. So
yeah,
they don't even get snow days anymore.
Well, that's going to change. It looks like.
That's right. So Caleb, how are you? How's your business?
Well, I'm doing great. Enjoying a little time off. We were able to ship staying out yesterday. And this week I've been working on just putting together some over-the-top stuff for a class next week.
Yep.
And no shipping today. UPS has not ran today, so just kind of playing it by ear and seeing how the weather's going to hold up. And maybe we'll be back to business as usual next week.
Well, Caleb, I was super impressed. A truck showed up today with some stain steel experts in it.
Oh, really?
A drum of stain steel experts stain. I was pretty impressed because I remember. What's that?
A little slower than normal, but we shipped last week. But at least it got there.
Well, in all honesty, I didn't expect it to be here till next week because I knew the shipping lines are really all delayed. Mm-hmm. So we're building out our new office, and we have some network hardware we need to bring in, and it's been sitting in Utah since first part of last week. It's in the carrier facility, but it hasn't made its way out yet. So I was fully expecting it.
How do you get your hat straight on air? Every time I get on the computer,
I don't think it is.
This is nice and straight. You must have a line right down the middle of your bill. You line up with your nose. Mine's always crooked.
I just put it on and hope for the best, to be honest with you. Every now and then it gets right. Okay, let's answer some questions real quick. I'm a little bit behind on questions, and I'd like to talk to you about the event next week.
All right, let's do it.
So Caleb, this would probably be a good question for you as well. There's a follow-up question, but let's see. So Brandon had asked, he's using I think it's a pay-per-month lead generation, but was wanting to bring it in-house. You guys do paper leads or do anything like that, or do you prefer to have your marketing in-house?
We do it in house. We've tried, outsourcing it over the years, and the leads you pay for tend to be leads not worth paying for. The ones that I always got, and I'm sure somebody's crushing it somewhere with the right kind of leads, but it just never did work for us.
Yeah, exactly, and that was our experience as well. One of the things I had said is the lead generation sites are motivated simply to bring you leads, as many leads as possible, so they can justify whatever their fees are.
Yeah.
Whereas, a business owner knows what their ideal client looks like or their ideal demographic is. So you can have that conversation a little bit better. But you're right. I mean, there's guys, we see this conversation come up in the groups all the time, specifically about this one. So Matt says, I did Home Advisor, was not a good way to go. Just my experience. We've used several of them. And one of the things is you have to sift through a lot of leads to find the ones that are a good fit for your business.
Well,
and
that's true.
So we've got a video. Home Advisor is part of a class action lawsuit right now because of deceptive business practices in regards to how they handle billing for small businesses. So if you guys want more information on that, I've got a video. But yeah, I'm a big fan of just keeping your marketing in-house. And we talked about doing video. That's kind of my thing.
How about I say something controversial?
Okay. We will allow it.
Well, let me start with a question. How much do people pay, would you say, on average in outsourcing marketing services a month? Let's say you're $1 million or less in business. What do you think? What do you think that runs? And then a $3 million company, what do you think that would cost?
Yeah. So, the $1 million company is probably spending $600, $700, $800 a month, maybe in that ballpark. The thing is, so the $3 million company isn't spending 3 times that. So they're probably in the $1,200 to $1,500 a month, I would guess. What do you think?
I would guess more.
Okay.
But I don't know. I know back in the day, years ago, when we ran our fence company, it was $5,000 a month, probably like in 05, 06 we were spending, and we were making a ton of money, but we were spending about $5,000 a month on AdWords and different marketing.
Yeah.
And we were around $1 million at that time. But anyways, I dare to say that if you hired a salesman or you yourself just called everybody you knew and then called people that you didn't know and just really beat the ground like an old school salesman, I would dare to say that would bring you an infinite number more of leads and quality leads than you would ever get through Home Advisor. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel that.
No, I think you're on. I think you're exactly right, Caleb. I'm all about one of the things I enjoy about keeping marketing in-house is it allows us to create the relationship early, right? It opens up communication early. We're having a conversation. One of the things I talked about in video is, when we're creating a lot of video, our clients are forming a bond with us. They're watching the content. They feel like they know us before they've actually met us. Mm-hmm. And that's something you just don't get with a lead generation site.
Yeah.
One thing that we found that was kind of the last straw is we saw a lot of the leads duplicated, meaning that a lot of the same people that were calling us directly were getting served to us as leads through the lead generation site.
Yeah.
So not only did we pay money to bring this client in organically, we also had to pay the lead generation site to provide them as a lead. So we're essentially paying twice. So
yeah, and I've never been a consumer that would use a lead generation site. So I don't know if I sort of feel like a person would hold you to or feel that you were of a higher standard if they went direct to you.
Sure.
Instead of just spinning the wheel and seeing what comes out.
Yeah, exactly. They would already started forming that relationship, feeling like they knew your business, because it probably was, for us, it probably started with a video and then led to some research maybe on our website, then led to a phone call, that sort of thing, instead of simply filling your information into, a lead form, or I don't know how they pull the leads, but it'd be more personal, you'd think.
Yeah.
Keeping it in-house. All right. Welcome back, Roger. Hey, Joe, just stopped to hit the thumbs up. Appreciate you. Got to fix leaks, Houston area. God bless everyone. Thanks, Joe. leaks are a very big deal. Have you guys gotten into? You start seeing a lot of busted pipes there in your area, and there in Nashville?
No, we bury our stuff deep, just like you do it. Well, not as deep, but we're 2 feet or more. So, but yeah, Houston is getting their butts getting spanked right now.
Yeah, well, and what I told the audience that was here early was I was a little bit behind the ball. We had some frozen pipes there at our office, but then when I got here to the studio, they had a major pipe rupture, and I don't know where it ruptured here in the complex, but it was somewhere here in our building because the first few offices are open and airing out. So we had some water pipe breakage issues here.
Yeah, that's just something we need to prepare for.
Yeah, that's right. So Matt's weighing in that he likes. I believe he's saying he likes using Facebook for his marketing. I agree. Facebook's a great platform. There's a lot of attention there, and there's some folks that just don't use Facebook, and I understand that, and we hear that sometimes in the comments that a lot of people aren't using Facebook. But honestly, in our market, I'm not seeing that at all. We're still running video ads. We're still communicating with our clients on Facebook, and it's still a really nice channel for us.
Yeah, when I use Facebook and I see something, I say, "Oh wow, look at that," and maybe I'll click on it. But when I absolutely need something, I'm going to do a direct search for it.
That's right.
On the internet, and generally, I don't know if it's a map listing, but it's who's open or whatever. I'm clicking the first thing I see.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So Facebook is great at branding. Mm-hmm. And that's a one word of caution I'll put out there is sometimes you see comments that, I boosted a few posts and my phone didn't ring at all. Well, they might not have rung the first few days because that's not generally how Facebook as a platform works. Like you said, there's not a lot of direct action. You might click on it and say, "Oh, that's neat," and watch a few videos, and then it kind of gets stored in the back of your mind. And then when you need that service, you'll be more likely to think of that company. Google, pay-per-click is still, we do pay-per-click campaigns because, to your point, those are people that are actively searching for that service right then.
Well, just because it's not working right now doesn't mean it doesn't work,
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Well, so I follow Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, and his big thing is everything works. It's just a matter of how it works and how much it costs to work.
Right.
So, billboards work as long as you understand that you're not going to put a billboard up today expecting your phone to ring tomorrow. It's just something that gets added to the back of people's minds as they drive to and from work every day. Mm-hmm. But when they do need you, they think about you. It's kind of the same thing. Oh, here we go. What is up, Ashley? Welcome. So she actually, in all fairness, Caleb, she posted this before you came on. So she probably has already resaid the hello, Caleb and Joe.
Probably so.
Welcome, Ashley. All right.
How's the little one at home, Joe?
Oh, being a little one. She's gotten in a funk lately where she likes to scream between 10 p.m. and midnight, almost every day, and it's pretty much like clockwork. So that's been fun. That's been really fun. She doesn't really want a bottle. She doesn't really want a diaper. You can give her a clean diaper and try to feed her a bottle. She doesn't really want that. She just really wants to be upset for a little while. And so it's really convenient for my bed schedule, my going to sleep schedule. But also the kids that are currently sleeping, because we've got 2 more in the house. They get woken up, so that's always nice. But but she's healthy. So.
Does she get that from your side of the family, or is that from Taylor's side?
It's got to be Taylor. It's got to be. I'm a really quiet guy. I'm soft spoken. If I'm in a room, you rarely know I'm there. So it's got to be from Taylor. She's really outspoken. She's never met a stranger, that sort of thing. So it's got to be from her side.
Yeah, probably so. Hopefully she's watching.
Yeah. She will be probably commenting shortly. So Clint's been talking about a project. Let me scroll back up here. So this kind of makes sense. So, so Caleb, he's from Tennessee. He's planning on building a DIY 4-panel farm fence. Now, Caleb, would that be what I would maybe call a post and rail fence? A 4-panel fence?
They call it 4 rails or ranch rails, corral board fences, whatever. We always called it a 4-rail.
Okay. So his question was a 4-panel farm fence with welded wire. You want to know post, metric post, round post, or square post. So I had thought 4-panel might mean 4-rail, so that postmaster might be good because I've seen, there's a lot of different fence styles out there. I've seen the guys that use like a round rail, like a 3-rail round rail, and then put chain link on top of it. So I was thinking maybe that's where this was headed, but he clarified a little bit.
Well, I can weigh in on that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So I can't speak really on the postmaster, but he said with welded wire backing.
Yes.
So the way we build that fence here in Tennessee is we set our post and then we brace the corners and then we stretch our wire on it. Yep. And then we would run our boards. And in Tennessee, I found it was always better to go with, instead of a welded wire, to go ahead and bump up to a like a Tractor Supply or Co-op, like a Red Brand or something like that, a welded wire, because the welded wire, you can stretch it tight and it'll follow the grade, where welded wire is square. If you get a grade, you can't rack it, where the welded wire will rack and go down the grade. So usually it's a little better. And if you got wood post, you can attach to the post, the wire to the post. And I would use a round flat face post, round post with a flat face.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it gives a nice mounting surface.
Yep. Or a 4x4x7 full cut, 4x4x7. But those kind of have a bad reputation. So if you're going to do them, use post saver sleeves.
There you go. Well, and Kayla, remind me to talk about that because we've already had one conversation so far on post savers. So, but I wanted to mention Clint said he's got 700 feet. That is a significant backyard. That is an impressive sized yard. Our here in Southwest Missouri, 400 foot is considered a pretty good sized backyard.
Yeah, he's got about an acre, I guess, something like that.
Yeah. He said he lives on several acres. Not interested in a privacy fence. Completely understand, Clint. I mean, we install more wood privacy fence than the other types. We still install chain link and ornamental iron and steel, or steel and aluminum. But sometimes those aren't the right application for the given problem, right? Typically what we'll ask is what is the fence trying to accomplish? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to keep, pets and kids in or pets and kids out? Or are you looking for privacy? So it sounds like in this, privacy fence wouldn't be a good solution. And that's absolutely fine. So Kelvin Bland, welcome back, says, do you guys travel? I'm in Indiana. We do not. Ozark Fence does not. We like to say in about a 30 or 45 mile radius of Springfield, Missouri. But in Indiana, depending on what part of Indiana, I know Sean King's in Indiana. Also John Bowdy, Stony Creek Fence is in Indiana as well. Who else do you know, Caleb, in Indiana?
John Bowdy and Sean King.
You can't go wrong with those guys. And there's other guys in Indiana, I'm sure. Those are just the two that I know.
Yeah, I was talking to Sean yesterday and John this morning, so both fresh on my mind.
There you go.
If it's big enough, I'll come to Indiana. I like staying in humongous, monstrous fences out of state.
There you go. Well, you do. You've done a few of those. I've seen your videos on them. What was the big? What was the big one? You guys do a lot of them, but you did. What was it? It was like a 4-rail, or was it a crossbuck fence? I think. And there was like thousands of feet of this, and I believe you painted it black. Maybe.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've done a lot of those.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking back to some videos you did, and there was like thousands of feet of fence. I was pretty impressed with it.
Yeah, our guys can stain about 1,000 foot an hour on 4-rail, so they're fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you guys are set up for it. Right. That's the difference.
We are set up. It's not our main business. If it was my main business, I could probably do about 1,000 foot in 45 minutes. But
yeah.
But we throw a sprayer in the back of a 4-wheel drive truck and a couple barrels and we roll. But if you really wanted to do it right, big 12-foot flatbed truck with 10 barrels on the back and a big, even bigger sprayer. But yeah, it's
those big commercial sprayers, you can run 2, 3, 4 guns off of them at a time, can't you?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're on a smaller scale. We're doing backyard fences and that sort of thing. So we've got a single gun running at a time. So we're not quite up to 1,000 foot an hour. All right. Let's see.
Your time will come, Joe.
Caleb, I don't know. So do you know Dan Hardy Fence out of Kansas?
Oh yeah.
He was in today. He was in this morning. He stopped by and we chatted. He wanted to see the place and we chatted fence for a while. He's talking about getting into stain. He's talking
we've talked to him for a while. He said he stained his fence maybe early last year or a year before. And he was going to sit and watch it for a while and see how it went and think about it. And he's not going to dive into it, which I think is smart. And see what happens. And,
well, I showed him our dip tank. And actually, he was there when your guys' barrel arrived. So
really? Cool.
I showed him the stain building and the stain tank. And I think he's got some pretty good ideas in the back of his mind.
Did you get the mixer I told you about?
Yes, we got 2 of them. Those things. So what Caleb's talking about is they're mortar mixers, right? Mm-hmm. They're from these were from Harbor Freight. You can get them other places, but since we're just trying this out, I wanted to not dive head first into this. But yeah, 2 of those mortar mixers in a 55-gallon drum will absolutely mix that whole thing. They rock and roll.
Yeah, they're loud. They're loud. We actually started making stain with those.
Did you really? I can see that.
Yeah,
I mean, you put 2 of them on opposite sides of the barrel. Holy cow!
Yeah, 6,000 RPM each.
Yeah, so you're right. We ended up wearing ear protection because when you put it inside of a building, they are loud.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Northwest Skylighters, welcome back. I know you guys have been here quite a long time. Do you consider partial jobs ever? Looking at building my own fence to save money, but interested in contracting out setting the posts and gates. Is that even an option? For us, it's typically not, only because the majority of the labor cost is in setting the post. I mean, that's the part of the project that takes the longest. Caleb, when you guys are doing fence, now your dad still does fence, right?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I remember getting calls like that, and he would say, "So they want us to come do the hard part," and that's the way it is. And to be honest, when you see a bad fence job, generally it's not the post, because most people can usually kind of figure out how to pull a string line to get their post right. But usually it's the grading of the top and getting the runners right. So if it were me, I would go ahead and take on the whole project, because setting the post is the heavy lifting, but it's not that hard. Right. If you got good ground and you can dig, it's not that hard to do. So I would.
Well, no, and most supply houses they'll rent. Most every supply house or rental house I've seen has like a Toro Dingo, and you can put an auger on one of those and poke your holes. They're not the fastest thing in the world. We use them as a business. We've got a couple Toro Dingos. I would say plan for it to take a while and take your time with it. Like Caleb said, bring a string line, and it's not. Once you get a few set, it's really not that hard.
Mm-hmm.
But as a company, we don't set just the post, only because this is the majority of the cost. If you're going to pay us to build or just set the post, you might as well have us build the rest of it, because it won't be that much more to have us finish the fence.
That's what I typically see. But what you may end up actually, it may cost you more money. Fence builder is going to get a better deal on the materials. They're going to do it faster. And, that's just the way I have found in my life to hire the professional for those things. I can't, and I'll do what I do professionally and let them come in and do their thing. And it always works out cheaper for me. Yeah.
Bob Vila used to always say, if you're not a professional, hire a professional. Mm-hmm. Because they usually get better discounts on materials. They already have the tools. They have the mm-hmm. jigs to make it more efficient and to make it look more uniform. I think you'd be better off. You can do it all yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you'll likely end up saving money and significant amount of time by hiring it out.
Man, it is really snowy, Joe.
This is someone in your neck of the woods. Welcome back. Shadow Sniper says, I'm in Cookeville, Tennessee. Did I say that right? Cookeville?
Yeah, that's 45 minutes east of me.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
very
right
good.
Down the road. Come see us.
Well, welcome. Crazy Cat Mama. I love that name. That is a name I like a lot. Great question, Northwest Skylighters. Sniper Jared says, there's a couple. So we had a Shadow Sniper and a Sniper Jared. Look at that. Thanks for your vids. I've watched them all. I appreciate that a lot. And decided I will DIY my fence cedar on metal post. You can't go wrong with that in terms of longevity and just overall quality of your fence. Yeah. Cedar on steel. That's the way I prefer to build fence.
Lifelong fence.
Absolutely. Kelvin Bland, Fort Wayne. So let's see. Yeah, Kelvin was asking about fencers in Indiana. So he's in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Yeah, I'd look up. I'd reach out to both Mr. Fence. I think Mr. Fence is in Evansville, as it seems to come into mind, and John Bowdy with Stony Creek. He's a little bit east of there, I believe. What's up, Bo? Or welcome? No, not welcome back. I've already been talking to Bo. Bo says we've had terrible luck with lead generation services. The only thing we spend ad money on is search engine optimization and AdWords. We spend about $1,400 per month, and we are under $1 million in revenue. There you go. Yeah. So search engine optimization is always a good idea, just to make sure that your website is optimized for the terms that people are talking about, and just keep it at the top of the search is always the idea. And AdWords, like Caleb and I were talking about earlier, AdWords target people that are currently looking for your service. They're searching fence company near me, or fence stain near me, or just how to stain my fence, something like that.
What a lot of people don't realize is that when you do a search, the first line you see, or the first two lines, are the ads, right? Yep. Right below it is the map listing. That's free.
Yeah.
And that's your business page. That's your reviews. All of that you can do on your cell phone on an app, and you can put a post on there on Google just like you can on Facebook. And and that will significantly increase your visibility online. I would do that. I mean, that's money. That's money in the bank. If you kept the $1,400 a month, just keep spending that, but over the next year, just start calling everybody and then start slowly adding in, doing your own post on there, or have one of your ladies in the office do it. I think you could replace that $1,400 a month with more leads and zero money out of pocket.
That's right. So I just searched fence company Springfield Mo just to see what comes up. And the problem is so it always serves 3 ads and then the map. First 2 ads are lead generation sites. It's Home Advisor and Angie's List, which is funny because Home Advisor owns Angie's List. So both of those are going to the same contractors. And then one of our competition is there. And then to your point, then it goes to the map pack. It shows you a map of where it thinks you are. And then it serves up 3 companies that are in your approximate area. The important thing with the maps here too is, and I'm not a Google expert, I don't claim to be, but part of the Google Map offering has to do with your Google My Business listing as well. So that's something that we've been focusing on as a company, as Ozark Fence Company, is our Google My Business listing. It's what would you call it? It's a mini web page, really, on Google, that lives on Google. And you can put pictures up. You put a little bit about your company, the hours, your phone number, all of that. But having that listing up to date and keeping it up to date with regular pictures, regular offers, that sort of thing, places you higher in that map pack, is my understanding.
Yeah, Google wants to see you changing your pictures out on your website. They want to see you changing them out on your listings all the time. They want to see fresh stuff coming all the time.
Yeah, and what's interesting, so I'm looking at this listing. It actually serves us up over 2 of our contractors, and one of them is closer to me right now where our studio is, but they have a lower rating. So I would almost guess that some of this has to do with your review rating as well on Google. So that's always important. All right. Thank you, Bo. Oh, look who it is. Speak and he shall come. What is up, Sean King, Mr. Fence? Digging out of the snow. I believe it. So, Sean, how much snow did you guys get there and all that? We're looking forward to seeing Sean here next week. Justin DeSantis, we won't do posts and gates either. If we're on site long enough to bore holes, we may as well set panels. Yep, that's absolutely right. Sniper Jared says, I figure I'll get rid of my Corona 15 digging post holes with a hand auger. All right, that's a plan.
Only 15 holes. You don't need an auger.
Well, that's what Justin says. 15 holes. I'd use a manual post hole digger or rent a beaver.
Yeah, just get a pair of diggers.
And then Kevin says, definitely use Google My Business. It's huge. So, Caleb, but let's talk about this for just a second. Do you guys use Yelp? Do you guys use Yelp? Yelp Business, or it's not My Business, I'm sure.
Yeah. so I've got the app here on my phone, Biz, and the problem, I would like to use Yelp, and they called us, and their salesman was great. Do this, put in your card number, no explanation. Let's just get your money and do it. And that was fine. But the problem is they don't have categories for us. There is no ceiling, there's no categories for us. And we're on there. We're trying, slowly building it out. As you know, we know somebody who does a lot of business on Yelp, millions on Yelp. But the problem is there's no category for us. And if Yelp is listening, I've extended my arm out to, hey, let's work together, and I'll get you the categories you need. And then if it worked, we would use it. And a lot of other people would use it for our type business. But right now, we did some ads on there just to play with it, and it was all fence building. Will you build my fence? And there's just no categories for us. So.
There's not free for staining and sealing. You'd think that'd be, as a fence guy that doesn't know anything about web development, I wouldn't think it would be that hard to add, staining and sealing as a category. No. Especially as big of an industry as staining and sealing is. It's a pretty substantial industry.
Isn't fencing like 9 or 10 billion?
Yeah.
Wood coatings is bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can build a fence once every, if you do it right, once every 20, 30 years. You stain a fence every, two to three, maybe 5 if you're using a really
coatings. I think it's 11 point, right at 12 billion. So it's a little bigger. And of course that includes interior stuff too, but it's still a market worth investing into. I felt like for Yelp or for even other people, nobody really has, it's not just pick on Yelp, but nobody's really got those categories. You try to do a Facebook ad, there's no category for us. You just kind of got to figure out where you want to be.
That's odd. It really is. The reason I bring up Yelp is one of our guys brought it to my attention. He had used, I won't say the name because I have those devices and you guys do too, but he said, hey, Alexa, call Ozark Fence. And she replies back, I found Ozark Fence and Supply on West College Street, but they don't have any reviews. Do you still want me to connect your call? Like, oh, wait a minute. That's not a great first impression. If we have a client asking her that question. But the thing with Yelp is they make it really hard. They make it really hard to get reviews, and their algorithm. So we actually have several reviews. They're just not featured on our page for one reason or the other. The algorithm says that they aren't applicable to our listing. So it's not that we have 3 5-star reviews on Yelp, but they don't show. I can see them on the back end, but they don't show up on the front end.
Well, you've got that issue going on. And then also I noticed the other day, Google, I don't know if I'm going to get the verbs right here or whatever, but it's Google verified business. And if you search, and if they've got the little green star or the blue star beside of them, they're Google verified, and Google will refund your full amount of money if you're not satisfied. Yeah. And obviously you got to pay to get that little spot there.
Oh, yeah. So you have to
see that coming.
You pay, and then you have to go through a background check. And what else? There's a few other stipulations. So it's not out to fencing yet. So we use a company called Search Kings to do our Google ads, and they're just whatever the term is. They're a Google authorized representative. Yeah. And they said, well, hey, the Google certified contractor is coming to fencing. If you want, we can get you to towards the front of the line, and we can get you in early or at least get your information in early so that when it opens up, you can be one of the first ones. But there's a fee involved. You go through a background check, which whatever. But it's weird because it's a fee simply for that Google guarantee. If you're not satisfied, you can get a full refund of your money. And I don't know. I don't like
that.
I'm not sure if it's worth it.
Well, what's happening is you're bringing a third party in to control your business and hold a huge amount of power over you because everybody, most customers, 99.9% of them are fantastic, but every once in a while you get just somebody who's nuts. Yep. And they would be able to have a lot of power over your entire business and everyone who works for you.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is the full refund. Like, I'm not really sure how that would work. We obviously have full contracts and we have sign-offs and everything like that. I don't know how that would work. I agree. It makes me nervous.
Yeah, I think Google's going to say you're going to make it right with this customer, or we're going to pull you completely off the platform
from the program. Yeah,
and you'll do whatever it takes, and they're never going to have to give anybody their money back.
Well, absolutely, and that's the same, and that's a similar gripe to what I have with lead generation services. Is once you start being dependent on that service, they can charge whatever they want to charge.
You're right.
Well, because now you're dependent on them. Same thing with the Google platform. If you start becoming dependent on having that check mark or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden they say, well, the fee has gone from whatever it is, $1,000, $1,200 a year to $5,000 a year. And you want to stay in the program, don't you? Well, now you got to figure out how to make that work for your business.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, man. That's why I'm such a staunch supporter of cold calls and old school lead generation, man, because getting to know your community works.
That's right. And I'll term it just organic outreach, right? That you do for your business organically, just means without having others involved. Whether it's, to your point, just cold outreach. I'm a guy that likes video. You can create videos. Live videos are kind of where I challenge people to take advantage of live videos. But yeah, doing it organically in-house is absolutely, because you're in control of it.
Do the Christmas parade, help the senior citizen center, do things that's what they used to do, in the old days when you went. I'm sure your dad and grandpa did things that you probably remember as kids that you didn't realize. Oh, this was, such as going right down to the local auto parts store and buying tires and paying a little more instead of going to discount tire, just things like that, because when you do business with those local people, they're going to do business with you as well.
Absolutely. And that gets into a bigger subject of we are a very big fan of community first projects, of giving back to the community that has provided for our families for the last 67 years. Absolutely. Keeping it in-house is you won't regret it because you're in control of it. So Sean says for snow, he has 8 inches, maybe more. That's about 7 inches too much. So this is a good question. Is the abundance of luxury vinyl planks cutting into the staining business?
Like I said, it's still a $12 billion industry or coming up on it. And no, I don't think so, because they're very expensive. Yeah. And, Sean King can probably speak on this more than I can, but I know at first there's still some problems with some of those products.
Sure. Well, right now availability is a huge issue. Yeah. A lot of the manufacturers are prioritizing just standard fencing over the, what Sniper calls the luxury vinyl. And he's probably referring to like colored and, textured that looks similar to wood.
Well, if I'm not, is vinyl a petroleum product?
Yeah, it's a petroleum based, and it could be regrind. So vinyl, I mean, and you're absolutely right. Sean can speak more to this than I could even. I said I can't even, as if like I could speak a lot on it, but it's a petroleum based at its core. It's a petroleum based product.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, and we're going to see increases in that. So, I don't think so. I think people love the beauty of wood.
I do too.
If you had unlimited funds and it's not even into it, if you'd get a really nice wooden kitchen table or a really nice luxury vinyl kitchen table, which are you going to get?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about the warmth of wood.
Yeah.
Right. It has more character and texture and like I said, availability. Think about it this way. Composite materials have been available for decks for a lot of years, for quite a while, and they're still priced significantly higher than wood. I think they like to be significantly higher than wood.
Well, and they're still looking bad, and we're still having to seal them and stain them, 5 years down the road. So
yeah.
Yep.
So to answer your question, Sniper, I would say no. It sounds like Caleb does as well. So this was my point, Kevin. So Kevin says nobody uses Yelp at restaurants. And I generally agree. I don't use Yelp for anything but restaurants. I'll look a restaurant up on Yelp because I know that's what they're known for. But like I said, it's troubling that Alexa references Yelp reviews when they're searching or when they're referring your company to other people using voice. like I said, she said, I found Ozark Fence and Supply on West College Street, but they have no reviews. You still want me to connect your call? It's like, I don't want that to be the first impression of my business.
Yeah. That's again where people are calling now for those listings for the Google ALX, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
They're calling you, and that's a service now. I mean, it's just another thing you got to pay for to be listed. And so,
well, and again, to your point, putting a, some form of control over your business by letting them be a gatekeeper between you and your customers.
Yeah.
I want there to be zero friction. I don't want there to be people in between me and my relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Remember the Yellow Pages days? You grew up in that just like I did. That was, as long as you had the Yellow Page ad, you were good, right?
Yeah. And you know what's funny about Yellow Pages? Every single year there's an increase. Wasn't much, but there was always an increase. Good economy, bad economy. Every time the Yellow Page rep came in, it was good news. It didn't go up that much.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, yeah, you're right. That is good news. Boo Boo Bang Bang, what is up? Welcome back. Building and developing relationships is always king. Building trust and positive feelings of confidence is always more difficult virtually than in the real world. Love you guys. I agree. What do you think, Caleb?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it is more difficult. It absolutely is. But we have technology that makes it somewhat easier to do things virtually. And honestly, that's kind of the reality of the world we're living in anymore, is that more and more of our lives, either required or not, are moving virtually. Right. Yeah. Like I said, my daughter doesn't get to have snow days anymore. They have virtual school days. Everything's going virtual. And, regardless of what your thoughts are on the pandemic and when it's going to be over, if it's going to be over, I think even post-pandemic, virtual is going to be the thing. It's going to become the standard.
Yeah, people are definitely more comfortable with it than they used to be.
That's right. Well, yeah, absolutely. Could you imagine our grandparents trying to do anything virtually?
I don't know. I don't know.
My granddad wasn't sold on the fact that we should have a fax machine in the office for several years. Mm-hmm. He just didn't see why people would want to send something send something digitally, or it wasn't digitally, but through the phone lines, rather than just take it over there in person. Nobody's going to do that. Well, what do you know? Crazy is we still rely on fax machines. So we're moving our office over. We've got everything wired we have VoIP internet phones, but we still have to have one analog line or a copper line for our fax machine, because there's still a percentage of suppliers and all that still want to use faxes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and your granddad, he wasn't held hostage by all these other things that you had to do. It was a different world. So.
Oh, my granddad was firmly against Yellow Pages. He did not. When the Yellow Page guy showed up, he just left. He's like, I'm not going to listen to this.
I would love to know what your granddad did in the 50s and 60s and 70s for advertising.
He did exactly what you're talking about, Caleb. He ate lunch every day down at the cafe so that he would see people and people would know him. And then he would, buy his tires from the local tire store rather than at, whatever national chain sold tires at that given time. And he always bought his hardware, his, fasteners from a company called HK&W. It's just a company here locally that sells all sorts of fasteners. They also sell tools and that sort of thing. He would buy them there. Now, to your point, he would pay more, but I still have great relationships at HK&W because of the relationship that my granddad started 60 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the day and age that they lived in, because that's what was available. And I think we're, to your point, I think we've lost track of that and we need to get back to it.
Yeah, because they were living in the real world. They were doing things in the real where a lot of this stuff, you and me right now, we're sitting in front of a computer screen.
Yeah. Yeah. We're 6 hours apart, but we're talking into cameras.
Yeah. Things have changed for sure.
Boo Boo says, wood, rock, and metals transcend time. Plastic hasn't been in our social conscious long enough to be seen as a luxury. I'm not going to say the word because we'll get dinged on Facebook, but I like my thing and my stainless. Okay. We'll get passed down. I hear what you're saying. So there's words you can't say on YouTube without your channel getting flagged. So we'll go ahead and not say that. But I agree. I mean, there's certain materials that just don't, they don't go away. And plastics in general just haven't been shown to be a long-term solution.
Yeah, but if he had to pick one to go fight the devil, I bet it'd be the plastic one.
Yeah. Could be. So, Caleb, tell me, we spent a good amount of time not talking about what I wanted you to come on and talk about, and I apologize about that.
Let's do it.
So for the one or two people out there that don't know what's going on next week, what have you got going on?
Well, we're going to do a whole seminar on spray tans, and it's going to be great.
And gutters, right?
Yeah,
gutter installation.
We got Staining University and Fence Install School, and we're going to do it no matter what. I mean, it's 20 more inches of snow have come down since we've started, but we're going to do it, and we're going to learn how to clean. I've got about an hour. I've got a great slideshow for you guys. It's going to be fantastic. I'm printing everybody off a copy that you get to take home with you, all about from 0 to 100 in the fence staining, deck staining, wood restoration industry, to get you caught up on that. But then we're going to do some hands-on stuff too, and we're going to clean wood fences. We're going to restore a deck. We're going to stain a deck. We're going to stain a new fence. We're going to learn how to build a wood fence, build a vinyl fence with Sean King. We're going to learn how to market with guys like Joe Everest. We've got some cool sponsors. Fortress Building Products. They're bringing a bunch of stuff down. They're a good sponsor. Yeah, we got Worcester Brush Company. I think, crossing my fingers, I think Graco is going to give us a 390 to give away.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to be the one to win that, on accident.
Yeah, funny how that happens.
Yeah,
that's a really nice machine.
Yeah, it's a commercial grade machine. I'm hoping for that. They said they thought they could, so we'll see. Okay. Titan, we tried with Titan, but it didn't work out. It doesn't seem so. We'll see what happens. But sure. Yeah, we got some fun stuff coming. It's going to be fun. If we get rained out and snowed out and we can't stain anything, we're going to stain something no matter what. I've got a bundle of kiln dried pickets. If I've got to use those, we will for the fence build. We may not get to stain the deck, but we can sand it, we can buff it, get it ready, prepped. And we can go over the whole process. We could even spray it with water if we had to, just to demonstrate the process. But
yeah, just to demonstrate technique.
Yeah. At any rate, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then so that's going to be Thursday and Friday. Thursday night we've got a honky tonk rented right down the road, and we're going to have a bar and a DJ. It's going to be a lot of fun. So
nice.
We'll see how that goes. Breakfast, we got a great place coming, bringing coffee and breakfast stuff. All of that's covered. We are going to get you to buy your lunch, and but we've got a great lunch coming for both days, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Very cool. And you'll probably have some swag, some hats and shirts and such.
Yeah, we got a few.
That's where I got this hat. I still got a bone to pick with you about this hat because you wouldn't let me buy it.
Oh, you couldn't buy it?
You wouldn't let me.
No, that's all right.
I tried to. This is what I told Ashley. I said you got to talk to this guy.
Well, we get you hooked on it, then we make orange ones and charge you double.
And I'll pay it. And I'll pay it. That's right. No, guys, it's an event I went to last year. Caleb, how many of these events have you had? How long have you been doing these events?
We've done. The first one we do the NAFCA Fence School, the North American Fence Contractor Association School. We've done that. We do that school. We do it this will be the third one that's a big full event here in Nashville.
Nice.
And then we've done several smaller ones. And so it looks to me like it's going to be one big one once a year, and then maybe half a dozen smaller ones. So we're doing one in Atlanta, March 17th or 18th, or the 18th and 19th. I'm not sure, with a bunch of power wash guys.
Nice.
It's called the Young Guns event. Young guys like you and me.
Okay.
Business, and so we'll see. We got them going. And I think maybe Asheville in July we'll do a little something. And we've been trying to get out to Canada and do it up there, but everything's so locked down right now.
Oh yeah.
We
actually have a viewer from Canada. Let me scroll up to the top here. We got Walter. He's I don't know if he's still with us. Walter, if you're still here, say hello. But he's from Ottawa, Canada.
Yeah, it sounds like he's a supplier. It sounds like he would do well with some of our stain, and up there it's really moving in Canada good.
There you go. Yeah, I visited Canada a few times. I love visiting Canada. I really do. Like I love living here, don't get me wrong. But it's if I couldn't live here, that's probably where I'd pick. It's a really nice place.
Get the best pictures. So we've got dealers in BC, British Columbia, Vancouver, and in Toronto. And some of those Toronto guys, they send in the most beautiful pictures of stained decks, usually decks. They've just got unbelievable backyards up there.
Well, that's the thing. It's like every picture you see from up in Canada is like a postcard.
Yeah.
I mean, they just live in paradise-esque villages, or not villages, but you know what I mean. Everything's picturesque.
It's the home of the Haviland beaver too, if you know what that is.
I don't at all know what that means.
So just look up Haviland beaver. It's a Bush airplane. It's the airplane with the skids. You know.
Okay, yeah.
It's
what you mean.
Coolest airplane in the world. You're an airplane guy. You'll have to check that out.
Yeah. I'm going to. Absolutely. Well, very cool. Let's see here. Let me scroll down, make sure we're all pretty caught up. Yeah. So last year it was a 1-day event. I came out and hung out with you guys. It was a 1-day event, and gosh, there were a ton of people last year. How many people are pre-signed up for this year?
Right, we're almost at 200.
Nice, very nice. Now, in last year, I'm sure there's probably a fair amount of walk-ins as well. Was there people that didn't necessarily pre-register but came on in anyway?
Yeah, usually we see with events like this, you see 80% show up, and then another 5% will just show up that never signed up. So
nice.
if we book 100 people, usually 85 will show up.
There you go. Okay.
So we should get somewhere between 175 and 200 to come.
Man, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, it's a couple hundred like-minded professionals that are in the same industry, but not competitors. You know, so I mean, I'm sure there's some competitors. Don't get me wrong.
You know, competitors are. I think it's even better when competitors get there and talk ideas.
Yeah, really as long as it's only ideas. But yeah, I agree. These events are some of my favorite events of the year, just because, like I say, you're in a room of like-minded business owners in the same industry, and it's all about networking and meeting new guys and gals and just swapping ideas and strategy and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I get so much out of this. So let's talk about this. So it's going to be value packed, to be sure.
Yeah.
How much does someone have to pay to attend this thing, Caleb?
Well, you know, if you're in New York City and we did an event like this, it'd probably cost $2,000 a day. Yep. If we were in Texas,
it would.
If we were in Texas, it'd probably be $800 a day. If we were in California, again, probably $2,000 a day. In Nashville, we're doing it for free. So that's usually the big kicker is it's free, and everybody wonders, well, it's free. Is it going to be any good? But I can absolutely guarantee you it's going to be good. It's good enough that we make our guys go to it and sit in the front row.
That's right. That's right. You know, I was blown away, Caleb. Not that. I mean, I know the value that you bring just as a person, so that's why I came to begin with. But I was blown away just by the level of knowledge that everyone there was just willing to share openly.
Yeah,
right. There weren't secrets in that room, because you know, sometimes I don't know what to say. Sometimes at events similar to this, you'll learn just enough. Right, you'll learn just enough to get started, but everyone holds their good secrets like really close, like their good tips and tricks really close to the vest, and they'll give you some starting tips, but then you really need to figure the rest out on your own because, but your event's different in where everyone is just open arms sharing everything with you.
Well, that's true, and what you see is you'll see a lot of guys that have never done this, and you'll see the their eyes being opened.
Sure.
And so you'll get that level of training there. You can do it. Here's how to do it. It's possible. And then on the far end of the spectrum, you'll see guys there that have been doing it for years, and they learn practical things they can use for the hands-on portion. Oh, a tip or a trick. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could use that, or that's a great idea. And then you also learn ideas and concepts and things just by sitting around other guys that are better than you. And normally, if you reach up, they'll usually reach down and pull you up, and
that's right.
That's what I like about it, and it's fantastic. What I have noticed is winners usually will help people out. The people that are stuck in their own four walls, they don't want to share any tips. We don't want those kind of guys there, anyways. So.
Well, no, it's like what we talk about a lot here is that you can have the tallest building one or two ways. And this is a Gary Vee quote. I'm not trying to say that I created this, but you can build the tallest building or you can tear other buildings down.
Yeah. Well, you're right.
I would rather be the tallest building among tall buildings, right, than be a 3-story building amongst rubble. And that's where the like-minded individuals comment comes from, because it's guys and gals that have that same mentality. I mean, everyone's there to learn and to help others.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited to come. I really am.
Like it, man. Can't wait to hear what you've got to say. Can't wait to hear what Sean King, can't wait to hear his stuff. Can't wait to hear what Matt Warner's got to say, man. I don't know if you know Matt Warner, but I think he's the president of not the president or something, but he's high up in the fence group. If you've ever heard of that, and great guy. Anytime I call him, he's just like the big rooster that pulls the little baby chicken up under his wing. Yeah. And, he's really got something special with his team out there, and he's going to talk about that. And I can't wait to see what he's got to say. Yeah.
So Matt he's got Empire Fence and Net. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. Yep.
But also I know him best as my salesman. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they developed the quote tool that most everyone in the industry uses. I mean, there's other quote tools out there. I've tried a few of the others. I mean, he just makes a nice tool. I'm interested to hear him speak on something to the effect of, he has a fencing business that is very successful, and they do niche projects, but he was also able to start another company that is also incredibly successful.
Well, and another one too. Have you seen his after school sports program?
I have not. No.
So I think it's called The Wave. So part of their so they built a new building for their fence company. And I think if you go in one end, it's a fence company. If you go all the way around to the other end of this big industrial building, it says The Wave on it, and it's got like a baseball and something, but it's got batting cages and all kind of other stuff, and it's just a huge after school sports facility for I don't know what all sports, but I'm pretty sure there's batting cages and other stuff there. And that, from what I've heard, that's doing really well too. So you can learn. So he's juggling, and you can learn how to do that, and which is important nowadays, because a lot more people are juggling more than they used to.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'm guilty of that as well. Trying to have too many balls in the air, juggling them all at once.
Well, I think what we'll learn from Matt is how to. I don't know if delegate's the right word, but how to grow a team instead of trying to hold everything, on your own two shoulders.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing, and that's one thing he does really well. I mean, Rachel's the I don't know if the face of my salesman is the right word, but she's my salesman champion. And it's like, how do we find more Rachels in this world? Because she is passionate about my salesman. She will talk to you all day long about my salesman if you want to. I'm really interested to hear his take on running 3 different businesses efficiently and creating teams that can help run those businesses efficiently.
Well, and I think what we're going to realize and what we're going to learn from him is that they're making impact. Rachel wouldn't do what she does if she didn't know she was making a difference for people.
Yeah,
so I think that's part of it. And
I mean, their tool. I mean, like I said, there's several out there, but their tool single-handedly made it possible for us to continue working during a pandemic situation.
Yeah,
where we weren't sending consultants knocking on 5-6 doors a day to do consultations anymore. That just wasn't that wasn't going to happen, right? That just wasn't feasible in that climate. So they created a tool. They almost had the forethought to have that tool, available. And no one could picture that something like that's happening. But I'd like to hear more on that story too.
Yeah,
I'd like to just talk to Matt for like 12 hours and just really dive deep.
Yeah. Well, you can do it. You can do it for sure.
Absolutely.
My light went off.
Uh-oh. Well,
there they come back on.
There you go.
Well, very Joe, good. Very good. At the end of my rope, I've got to run.
Okay.
It is.
I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you coming on short notice. Now, full transparency, I text Caleb yesterday, and I'm like, "Hey, you want to come on because?" So next week on Thursday, I'm going to be at the university, at St. Cecilia University. So we're still ironing out some logistics on whether or not we can get the live to happen from there. But typically, Caleb's our guest the last Thursday of every month. So I wanted to give him the opportunity to at least come on and interact with you guys and get in front of you guys, so that in the event that we aren't able to do this next week, that he can still get in front of you guys and answer your guys' questions.
Well, you know what I'd like to do is I think it would be great if we could do the live maybe a little early in the afternoon on Thursday. We're going to do an expert panel. We're going to have a lot of guys up there taking questions. It'd be really cool if we could bring in your audience to ask questions too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
the only limiting factor is going to be the internet. That's
I've got a Wi-Fi hotspot. I've got everything we need and unlimited on everything. So if they don't have Wi-Fi there, I'll bring Wi-Fi.
Okay. Yeah. So I've got all the equipment. I've got four microphones. I'm going to bring my switchboard's not the correct term. My audio mixer. I bring my camera set up. So I'll have everything with me. Yeah, we'll put this thing together. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's going to be a blast, man. It's going to be a blast.
So who's going to be on the expert panel?
You.
Okay.
I'll be there. Probably Kenny Dugan. He's a really great, slick stain guy.
Yes.
Matt Warner. If we can get Sean King there early enough on Thursday, we'll have him. We'll have him on there, and maybe Dan Blanc if he's coming. If he's he said something about it, and pretty much anybody. I mean, we're going to see who shows up, and when Mike Tyson shows up at a boxing convention, you just tell him to come on up and teach the class, right?
That's right.
That's kind of what we're doing. It's anybody that we deem as, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. We're going to get him up there to talk. And
absolutely. Well, Caleb, I'm excited about that. So we'll be bringing you guys, the audience, in. So if you can't attend, I would absolutely encourage you guys to show up. Just because there's going to be so much value there. But if you can't attend, I understand that completely. So we'll be bringing you guys into the Ask the Expert panel.
Yeah, that's going to be great. And if you want to go live, we're going to record all this and then put it out to the world for free in segment bite-sized chunks. But anytime you want to go live on this thing, be my guest.
You bet. I'm looking forward to that. Well, Caleb, thank you so much for your time. I know it was super last minute and you had to run back to get on with us. So I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, and I'm going to plug the event. If you haven't signed up and you want to sign up, especially you Tennessee guys, it's right in your back door. Go to staininguniversity.com.
That's right. Yep. And if you guys for whatever reason don't remember that, I've actually got it linked. It's the first link in the description below. I want to try to make it as easy as possible for people to get to you, Caleb.
Perfect. All right, man. Sounds great.
And the second link is for more information about Stain and Seal Experts. So if you have questions about the product itself, you can go to their website there.
All right, man. I'm going to Grandpa's house. It's chili time.
It's time to get there. See you, Caleb. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Well, guys, let me clean this up a little bit. Like I said, I'm a fence guy, not a tech guy, so let me clean this up. There we go. All right, so let me get back to some of your guys' questions and comments. Like I said, I appreciate Caleb coming on. I brought him on super last minute. I texted him yesterday and then reached out to him again today, and he said, I'm on my way. I'm getting back to the office right now. And it sounds like they're in the middle of a pretty significant winter event. So if you guys see Caleb, tell him thank you. I appreciate him so much for joining us here live for Ask the Expert. Steve's got a question. Steve Urban asks, how do you feel about current wood pricing and the stability of the fencing business? Sorry for the late question. Not a late question. So we've actually got a good amount of time left. We've got we go to a 5:30, so we got about 45 minutes left. If you guys have any questions, and fence questions, marketing questions, business questions in general, if you just want to say hello, drop a comment in the comments below. I'd love to bring your comment up here and say hi and answer any and all of your questions. So how do I feel about the current wood pricing and stability of the fencing business? So, that's a big question. So wood pricing, it depends on which materials we're talking about. So middle of 2020, mid 2020 into late 2020, we had some pretty significant pricing issues and availability issues with the treated pine market. Now, the treated pine pricing has started to come back down. The availability is starting to become a little bit more available. So to use numbers, 4x4x8 treated pine post retail. So if I went to a retail store and bought it, used to be roughly $9, $9.50 a post for a 4x4x8 ground contact rated pressure treated pine post. They went up to a little right around $20, depending on where. So post pandemic, they went up to about $20, and it was for number 2. So the roughly $8.50 to $9 a post, $9.50 some places was for number 1. So the $20 a post was for number 2 grade, which not as nice of a post, and 2 to 3 times as expensive. those posts have come back down, at least here locally in Southwest Missouri. They run roughly $13 a post, $12.50 to $13. Still number 2, but they're rated for ground contact, so that's nice. So more expensive. They are more readily available. So we buy ours from a wholesaler, but I always judge by like what's on the shelves at your home improvement stores, your Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, wherever you choose to shop. I'm seeing them more and more on the rack, so they're more available. They are more expensive than they were pre-pandemic, but they're less than what they were during the height of the height of the pandemic shortage. That's for pressure treated posts. Now, for Western Red Cedar rails and pickets, the price continues to go up, and the availability continues to be tight. For instance, we typically buy a 1x6x6 Western Red Cedar picket. We buy them by a truckload to try to help with availability. Right now, a truckload is 4 to 6 weeks out, where they used to be available on the ground. They were on the ground at our wholesaler, and they would just ship us a truck when we needed it. Now we have to place an order 4 to 6 weeks in advance and hope they come in. Hope a train car. The wholesalers order these things by the train cars. Hope the train cars show up on time and hope we get our material order in time. So for Western Red Cedar, price is still continuing to rise. Availability is still tight on that. Now, those are 2 products that we deal with here in the Midwest. It's pressure treated pine and Western Red Cedar. There's other cedars available. There's an incense cedar that typically comes out of Northern California. They're having the same issues, the availability and the pricing. Here in the Midwest, here in Southern Missouri specifically, there's also Eastern Red Cedar, which is actually a juniper, but it's an Eastern Red Cedar fence board. Those haven't been available since before the pressure treated pine shortage. So Eastern Red Cedar is still not available at all. And so the pricing just becomes irrelevant if they're not available. Right. So that's kind of what we're seeing as far as stability of the fencing business. I mean, as long as you're pricing your projects accordingly, there's not a lot of stability issue, right? So we're still bidding jobs. Now, the problem is the wholesalers are still, so we used to be, we'd get 30-day quotes. So if I got a quote today, that quote would be good. The pricing would be good for the next 30 days. Well, then they brought it back to 15, and then they brought it back to 7 days. Now, most wholesalers are on 2-day quote terms. So if I got a quote today, if I needed to purchase the materials Monday, they'd have to requote it based on that day's current pricing. So it's adding a little bit of instability to running a fencing business. But as long as you go into it knowing, and as long as you make your clients aware, hey, it's not me, it's the manufacturer, the wholesaler is giving us 2-day quotes. I can give you today's price. The price might change slightly if this isn't accepted in the next couple of days. I'll just have to requote it. But as far as stability of the fencing business, I don't see a lot of instability there. We're still seeing a lot of individual fence contractors pop up, and so that tells me the stability is still there. The economy itself is still doing okay. It's still full steam ahead. So as far as stability in the fencing business, I don't see a problem in it. And not a late question. We still got 45 minutes. All right. So Sean King, Mr. Fence, says he's not in the studio, but he has his cell phone camera, has about 45 minutes. So let's do this. I am going to email Sean the link to log on here and come on as a guest. Give me just a second to get that done. So Sean, I'm going to email this to you right now. It's opening up my email platform here. Oh, and you text me as well. All right. Sorry, guys. Great video content, right? But we are trying to bring Sean on as a guest because I think he's always got a lot of good information to add to conversations just such as this. Sure, I did pre-populate your email address. I've got it right here in my contacts. All right, Sean, the invitation is coming to you right now. So we'll give Sean a couple minutes here to get everything connected and together. Looking forward to having him on. Sean, as you guys know, is Mr. Fence. He's got the Fence Academy. He's also going to be, bring this a little bit closer to me. He's also going to be doing the fence installation portion of the university next week. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say. Bring him on. Steve says, I've primarily been a subcontractor for a big box store and looking to break away this year. And that's super common, Steve. We come across subcontractors that have worked for big box stores. I think what you'll find is a few less headaches. It sounds like now we've never subcontracted to a big box store, but like I said, we've had subs in the past that have, and it sounds like in I don't know, you wouldn't call it private sector, right? So life outside big box stores is a little bit less complicated. So, and I'm sure each region's a little bit different, but I'd say go for it. I would probably reach out to a few fencing contractors, fencing companies in your area to see if they're also looking for good quality subcontractors. That's the issue a lot of fence companies are having, is just the lack of qualified contractors to install their fencing. They have quite a bit of business. They have quite a few leads. They're just looking for qualified contractors to install that fence. And honestly, I'm a fence company owner, so I'm going to speak from that perspective. But, I would love to have qualified contractors install our fencing because it's a good, so here's the thing, it's a good relationship for both of us, for both the contractor, for the fence company owner and the contractor, because the fence company is doing all of the office work. They're doing the consultation, the sales, they're running all the paperwork on it. They're also following up after, they're collecting payment. Whereas the subcontractor simply has to install a quality fence and then they get paid weekly for it. At least with us, they get paid weekly for it. So I would encourage you, Steve, to reach out to some fence companies in your area. But if not, come on in. The water's great. If you got any questions, let me know, Steve. I'm always willing to help. All right. So we got Mr. Fence coming on. I see him sitting in the queue. Let me bring him up right now. What is up, Sean? How are you?
What's up, guys? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great. How are you, sir?
I'm in my mobile office. Let's call it my kitchen, actually.
I hear you. So right after we had little baby Josie, I came to you guys live from my home office, which was also my daughter's bedroom.
Well, I've been at this living room table all day working on business stuff and then stuff for next week as well. Yeah,
I hear you. So you guys had, what'd you say, 8 inches of snow?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. It looks like a foot out there, really, but they're telling us it was just as little as 8 inches, I guess. So,
well, 8 inches with wind, but then you had wind drift on top of that.
It's enough to shut us down. I can tell you, we're not used to this, so we don't have that building fence. How do we even see locates? How do we get material carried back? How do we drive our trucks safely? Everyone's stuck everywhere. So,
bingo.
I really want to have the guys out building fence, but it's just, I think it's not a good situation.
It's not. Here's the thing is we've had this conversation in the Facebook groups, but you really have to ask, am I willing to put my team members out there in a truck, trailer, and a piece of equipment on a dangerous road when others aren't? So our rule of thumb is typically when the school district is closed, we're not putting trucks on the road. They've driven the roads. They're consulting with meteorologists as to what weather is coming. If they don't want to put a school bus full of children out on the road, I don't want to put those children's family members in a truck and trailer and put them on the road.
Right. I get it. I see it. And it's probably the safest bet is to keep the guys at home, keep them safe, keep your equipment safe. That's probably the most professional way to go, but it's tough. I'm working with several fence companies and they're all in the same boat. They're all fighting the same battle and asking how to recover from a week and a half of no production.
That's right. Well, and here's the thing so it's a week and a half of snow and foul weather. So we started getting ice last Monday. And so we only had about half a day of production. Then we recalled the trucks for ice. And then the trucks haven't been back out on the road. But so the snow, at least for us, the snow's due to thaw and melt this weekend. It's supposed to be temperatures in the 40s and 50s, a little bit of rain. So that rain will do well in melting everything off. The problem is all that moisture has to go somewhere.
It's going to be a soggy mess.
Yeah, so we're planning on not having production next week either. even though the sun will be shining, even though it'll be in the 40s and 50s, we would do nothing but tear up yards, even established lawns. You know, if we tried to put equipment, and even without equipment, I mean, I've seen once you have a gate opening and you have a whole crew of team members walking the same path, they'll walk ruts into a yard.
Yeah, for sure.
Quickly. So
yeah, I kind of picked and choose my job. We got a couple jobs this week. One in particular, we're not replacing posts, we're just replacing sections, so that's good. And one's on asphalt, that's another good one. So I was thinking about that when I was putting the schedule together. Like, these are all going to be wet, hot messes.
Yep.
Like soggy ground next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be a mess. So, I mean, ultimately, we're probably looking at 3 weeks with no production. I mean, by the time this is said and done. And you're right. I mean, I'm sure we'll come up with some projects for next week that are, you know, actually, I know we will, because we've got like a gate replacement.
Yeah.
Right. Where the posts are fine. We're literally just replacing a set of gates that have failed over time. So something like that you could do. But yeah, you really got to be mindful of yards, because you can ultimately end up doing more damage than you do good, both physically and financially.
Well, and also it's a good way to get a bad review too. You can build an awesome fence. If you leave mud all over the driveway or tear up the yard or the grass, we've had bad reviews before. Hey, you did a great job on the fence, but not very happy with my yard. It's like, how do you win that? You wanted us there. You told us we had to meet a deadline. We did.
Yep.
And we destroyed sections of your yard. Yeah.
That's the thing is I would almost rather get a bad review for not coming and rescheduling than I would for the pictures and the review that would come from, you know, a really messed up yard, a muddy road in front. You know, we don't park in the driveway, we park in the road in front, but there'd be a muddy mess. Yeah. You know, the equipment going on the road and all this. Yeah. So
I had a customer message me today and ask when I was going to build their fence. I was just like, there's 12 inches of snowdrifts outside. I can't even see the yard. But they're like, well, we're just checking to see if you're coming. I said, after all the weather and the moisture goes. Oh, okay. But
yeah.
I couldn't. I reached out to ask.
Yeah, I'm already prepping so we have a call center that answers incoming phone calls. I'm already prepping them with, here's the thing. It will be sunny next week.
Yeah.
You will get every phone call about where are you and why are you not at my project today, even though there's 2 weeks worth of projects ahead of that project. So this week has been spent reaching out to those customers proactively.
A good
say, I know it's going to be nice next week, but we can't be there. And here's the reasons why.
Yep.
You know, and everyone has been great to work with, but you know as well as I do, it seems like some people go to sleep tonight and forget that conversation happened, and will then call on Monday morning saying, hey, the sun's out and the snow's gone, but your guys aren't here.
For sure.
That's going to happen. It will. So we try to reach out proactively, but we're also prepping the call center to say, hey, these questions are going to come in, and here's the answer for them. But I can already see that coming.
For sure.
Well, because I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we can do work in light snow, right?
Sure. Well,
so if the roads are clear, not a problem. I mean, we send trucks out with leaf blowers. They turn into snow blowers.
Yeah, we've got that, and then the power brooms that we have for dirt work work great for the snow as well.
I like that.
Yeah, they work really well for that.
I've seen some of your guys' videos with those in it. I'm really. How long have you guys been using those?
Well, I would say off and on for a year and a half.
Okay.
The guys, I find that they're cumbersome and big, right? So it's one of those items that doesn't have a great home in the truck.
Sure.
So I find them hanging them up and leaving them at the office. They don't work well in wet ground. That
makes sense.
They work great in dry ground, but if it's really dry, then it blows a lot of dust on the fence. You get this really fine film of dust on the fence, and then they wipe the net back off. So it has its time where it works perfect.
Sure.
And then there's times where it doesn't work very well. So we're still trying to figure out how to put that in for the process and procedure. I like it because it does a better job and it's less work on the guys. I mean, raking dirt is no joke.
Oh, yeah. And nobody wants to do it because it's viewed as like a low tier task.
Yeah.
But now they're battery operated, right?
So we have one battery powered. It's a Makita battery powered.
Okay.
2 battery powered, and then we have 2 gas powered.
Okay.
Units. The guys don't like the battery powered ones. It goes dead too fast.
Yeah.
But I told them they wouldn't wait and do all the dirt work at one time. You wouldn't necessarily have that problem. You got all day, right? So get a line done, do it, and I'll bias charge it again.
Yep.
The gas-fired ones are pretty robust. Shenandoah is the brand of the gas-fired ones we have. I believe it's called Shenandoah. And then I think we even have an Echo version as well.
Okay. So that's interesting. So we're transitioning over to try to be battery powered almost exclusively on whatever tools we use when it makes sense. One thing we keep on the truck is a chainsaw. I mean, you come into times needing chainsaws. So we're demoing right now a battery powered chainsaw.
All of our trucks have battery powered chainsaws and have for years.
Nice.
Yep, the DeWalt's. We have the 60 volts and some 20 volts.
Okay. Yeah, so we're demoing the DeWalt 60 volt right now.
Yeah, no issue with that. Just I find that because it's so convenient, I find them grabbing it to cut roots in the ground, which is just catastrophic to the blade and the bar. So rather than a sawzall or a rock bar, because it's just so convenient. They're not checking a 2-cycle mixture and filling it up with fuel first and priming it and starting it. They just grab it, press the button, and it goes. So it's its own worst enemy because it's so convenient.
Well, right. Well, and I mean, you need to keep in mind what weather conditions you're using it in.
Yeah. They don't. My guys use it. I mean, mud, rain. I mean, that's
okay.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what. I gave up that battle. I gave up the battle a long time ago of trying to fight over keeping the equipment clean and neat and dry and go put it back in the truck. It's a tool. We budget to wear and tear, and we kind of we push the outer limits of wear and tear. Like we're rough on our tools, right?
Sure.
Because I got to choose what I'm going to police and fighting that battle and making them clean them like an owner operator would. If it was my tools on my truck and I was building fence, I call those artists. If you're an artist, your tools probably look immaculate. But if you got guys and it's their job to get the job done, and they didn't buy the tools, naturally they're not going to care for it as well as you. And it's like I'm screaming and hollering and fighting a battle, and it's really maybe that insignificant in the scheme of things.
Yeah, and it's a losing battle to begin with.
Yeah.
And you almost know it going into it, but sometimes it's a conversation you just need to have.
So it's a cost of doing business for us. So we budgeted in there. So, I mean, I'm only talking, we budget a few $1,000s of tools per truck per year in repairs. I don't think it's terrible with the volume of work they're doing. So in the scheme of things, it's not that bad. And the other thing we do is the inventory. I showed you recently the inventory of the equipment, which is photographed, which you can see in the photographs how the tools life has gone. Like if they're brand new, and then the next photograph, the next photograph, the next photograph, the life of the tool. They
look more and more used.
Oh yeah, like we just recently did it. I'm like, woof, these tools have been, but those trucks are what? They're 2 years old now.
Sure.
So those tools have had 2 years of hard work.
That's right, and they put up quite a bit of fence.
Yeah. So they're starting to show their age, and they're by no means wore out by any means, but they definitely look They definitely look used compared to the brand new equipment that were on the truck when we started. And they probably got maybe another 2 years left and to replace items.
Now you brought up an interesting point too there that you guys repair your own tools to a certain extent, I'm sure.
Pretty well, as much as possible. We hired we have someone on our team that's a full-time maintenance position. That's all that he does. And he's actually a trained mechanic. So he's still going to school currently. This guy can do transmissions and engines and diesel work and gas work, little equipment work, electrical work, does some gate operator repairs. He's a very talented young man. And that is his sole purpose. Is just he has a maintenance van full of equipment, and his job is to repair as many tools as possible. There's some things that outside his repair are not worth his time.
Sure.
Send them off. A lot of DeWalt stuff just gets sent back to the factory, or I'm sorry, not the factory, but a local authorized repair shop.
Yeah.
For those repairs.
Now you said he's got a van. So do you send him on-site repair stuff too for your in-house stuff?
Yeah. So the convenient thing about having him is we don't have to put a truck down in the shop for a lot of this stuff. If you've got a bad light or bad wiring or even changing oil in the truck, we've sent him out and do it right there in the street.
Okay. So you got, okay. So I was thinking too small on this. So he maintains all of the equipment, if vehicles included.
Oh yeah, for sure. His primary focus is my equipment. make sure that everything is, all the oils are changed, and he does the tire rotations, brake jobs if we need them. I mean, he just put a transmission in a truck 2 weeks ago. So we had a transmission go out. We towed it, and he put a whole new transmission in the truck.
Wow.
So we have transmission jacks and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But we have saved, I mean, this is the amount of money I saved right there in that transmission from hiring it, take it to the shop. It's a time.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. I mean, we currently use a mechanic to service our vehicles. And you can guarantee even on routine maintenance, it's down for a day. By the time you drive it over and it sits and it goes up and it gets done, it might only be in the shop for 3 hours, but it might as well be a day. You might as well just plan on it being down a day.
Well, we get to prioritize the repair. Like we're not if you go to another business, they have other customers.
Right.
And so we are his only customer.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Right.
If we need an emergency repair, I've had him come in late in the evening. I've had him come early in the morning, weekends. A lot of times he works. So we give him Wednesday off. And so we work Saturday every time. That's a truck day that most trucks are down.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And he'll work that Sunday if need be. So we capitalize on the fact that when the trucks are sitting is when I want the majority of the work done.
Yeah.
If we had to do something in the field, yes, he can go do a repair in the field at a job site if need be.
Yeah.
Our excavator, MT85, Little Beavers, all that stuff is done by him. I think you're way ahead to do preventative maintenance.
Yes.
Reactive crisis management when something breaks.
I agree because it never breaks when it's convenient.
It's not convenient.
It never. I mean, so we've done gate operators in the past, access and automation, and the reason we got away from that is because they never fail when it's sunny on a Wednesday. They never do. It's always when, days like today when it's snow and ice and it's Saturday night and it's at a manufacturing facility where that gate has to work. So you're going to fix it.
All right. So I'm gonna tell on myself for right now, and this is embarrassing, but I'm gonna share it. Okay. So last week it was Sunday. I was coming back from, and this is going to solidify the reason why having somebody on staff and as a maintenance guy is worth their weight in gold.
Sure.
So I think it was last Sunday or the Sunday before, probably the Sunday before. I went skiing with the kids. It was a guys trip. Went out of town, 3 hours away, Cincinnati. On the way back, we're trying to get back for the Super Bowl. So it was Super Bowl day. And my DEF in my 2019 limited beautiful truck was low. And this was as soon as we left to Cincinnati. And I'm on the phone and I'm doing a million other things. I go outside the gas station and truck stop and I get some DEF fluid and I walk outside and I had just topped off the truck. So the diesel was still open. And I opened the box of DEF and I stuck it in the diesel for a couple of seconds.
That's all it takes.
As I'm like, I quickly pulled it out and I'm like, okay, it wasn't that bad. And I look and I'm like, there's probably 8 ounces of DEF, maybe 12 that went into the truck.
Yeah.
Truck was running at the time. This is on a Sunday and I'm in full panic mode, 3 hours away. It's frozen outside. Like I couldn't even imagine. Super Bowl Sunday, we got deadlines, stuff to get back to.
Yeah.
And I called him. I'm like, what are you doing? I tell him, he's like, oh, that's bad. Like, yeah, I know. I'm
aware.
I'm aware this is bad, but can I make it back home? He's like, no, you're going to blow the motor up. You need to stop it right now. And I'm like, do what? Sit on the side of the road? Like,
right.
What am I going to do? It's freezing. I have to keep running the truck. And he's like, if you run that truck, you're going to probably cause $12,000 in damage. And I went, oh my God. So we side of the road, my boys are Googling. I'm Googling like, okay, what's the probability of me driving this thing 180 miles and not blow it the truck? I'm justifying my head going, okay, I just put 40 gallons of fuel in, 8 ounces of DEF, 12 ounces of DEF. If that's what it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking, it'll dilute it, right? We look on the internet and people are like, a lot less than that destroyed their motor.
Yeah, because it crystallizes.
Yes,
yeah.
It does. It crystallizes. So, he got the phone. He called a bunch of his guru buddies, called me back, and he said, "Is it still running?" I said, "Yeah, it's running just fine." He said, "Well, then run it till it won't run and take your chance." And I went, "Oh my God, I'm going to do it because I don't have no choice."
Sure.
So the whole way I'm driving this truck back, and it's running just fine. You're looking 3 hours of sitting on pins and needles.
Yeah.
And
Longest 3 hours of your life, probably.
multiple times. I'm like, okay, we're getting close. And I remember pulling in my subdivision, and the light came on the dash.
Oh.
And it said water and fuel, and I'm like, no, actually, before that, in Louisville, my bad. No, in Louisville, I got a check engine light came on, and I thought I was done at that point. Low fuel pressure. And I was like, I'm done. I called him and I said, dude, I'm on the bridge crossing over from Cincinnati in Louisville. If this thing dies on this bridge, there's no shoulder. I'm screwed. And he's on the phone with me the whole time. We made it across the bridge and the light went away. And he's like, just keep hammering down. But anyway, so I'm getting to it. Got back to the house. The light had just come on. I pulled my subdivision. So I got in the driveway, backed it up on the side of the garage and turned it off. And he came out the next morning, dropped the tank, emptied all the rest of the fuel out there, which was still 3/4 way full.
Yeah.
Pulled the fuel filters out, the pumps out, cleaned everything out, ran kerosene through it, put it back together, ran it, took it back apart, drained it again, put it back together. And in that process of him doing it, I think we had a couple $100 into it, and the truck's running great now.
Wow. That is certainly best case scenario.
So huge mistake, and it was great that I had this guy that had him available, a team member that can come over immediately. And I'm talking, he did it outside the garage. It was probably 15 degrees outside.
Good grief.
And he's out there doing this outside in the gravel. Amazing that he pulled it off. And I've been nervous all week driving it. But I'm waiting for it to just, give up. But
just all of a sudden.
But no, so having a maintenance team member, I think is amazing. It's been a blessing for us and multiple times.
Well, I just say, so I've got a diesel as well, and that's like that's my number one fear. Like every time I fuel up, for me, it's like I double check that it's green and it actually says diesel, because where was I? I was at a local. No, it wasn't Come and Go. I don't know. It was a local fuel station, and all of the nozzle, all of the handles were green, gasoline and diesel.
Oh man. And
so ever since then, like I triple check. I'm like, okay, it is green. It says diesel. This is going to that one. Okay. Yeah. And especially with DEF, I was like, okay, it's one of my fears.
We've had guys put gasoline in diesels.
Yeah.
Diesel and gasoline. It's happened multiple times. It's a disaster for us. It's cost me a lot of money.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
let me ask you, I like that we're on this topic just because this has my mind running right now. Let's say hi to a few people really quick, because I know Kenny Dugan has been waiting patiently to be brought up. So Kenny, what is up? So Sean, Kenny's actually going to be at the staining university on the staining side of the training next week.
Awesome.
He's the stain man. He's the stain guy. I'm looking forward to seeing
him on Friday. I'll see him on Friday.
There you go. Steve Erdman says, I have all Milwaukee M18 tools and the Little Beaver, still using pneumatic for pickets. Now, Sean, do you guys do any wood or no wood?
No, we do quite a bit of wood.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, that's right, because I saw your Postmaster. I don't know where my mind went there for a second. So, do you guys still use pneumatic on nailing?
On the picket nailers, we have DeWalt coil or stick nailers for the framing that we haven't with wet wood. They don't perform very well. It doesn't quite dry the nail. So we're using primarily pneumatic. I'm hoping that DeWalt will come out with that. They have a roofing nailer now. And
that's right.
That seems to be working really well. So if they can go with a picket nailer like that, I'll be all in.
Absolutely. That's the thing, is if we can get a compressor and reel off of our truck, that would be huge. I mean, well, so our truck actually has 2 compressors on it, because we've learned our lesson that you just have 2. And 1 week we use the driver's side, 1 week we use the passenger side.
Yep.
Just because you can't build fence if you don't have a compressor.
Yep.
But if we could get those compressors and the reel off the truck, I would jump all over that. So DeWalt, if you're listening, get on that for sure. And then what do you guys use for digging? What do you guys use for digging?
Little Beavers.
There you go. There. Yep. I thought that was the answer, but I wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Bo Butler. Bo's been with us all broadcast. So Bo, you're a trooper and I appreciate you. our crews use all battery-powered equipment except for coil nailer. Okay, so the Milwaukee battery framing nailers for rails were a game changer for us. So, Bo, I'll ask you. So, Sean brought up that the DeWalt doesn't work as well in wet wood, probably because wet wood it's not more dense. Like, it doesn't change the density, but it's just probably tougher to get through.
It is tougher to get through.
So, Bo, I'll ask you if the Milwaukee battery-powered framing nailer has problems with wet wood. Lockby wants to know how old we are. So, I'll go for wait, I got to do math real quick. So, 83, 37. Is that right?
Yeah. Jing, Joe.
I know. Wait, that might not be right. I have to do math real quick.
Well, I'm 42, still a youngin'.
Okay, I am 37. I will be 38 this year. Okay. All right. I'm not sure what relevance that has, but there's your answer. Steve says he agrees with Bo on the battery powered. Very cool. Bo wants to know, what do you think about once a quarter or something doing a live with fellow companies looking for advice and ideas for business? You could do 1 per hour for a full show. I think that's a great idea, Bo. Yep. Yeah. I think we can have, I'll have to double check this. I think we can have up to 4 screens going at once on here. Like you see 2 screens going right now. I think we can have up to 4. That would be interesting, Sean.
That would be cool.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, Sean, that's why we do this content, right? Is to try to be as helpful as possible for other contractors. I mean, Sean, you take it a step further. You have an academy for fencing contractors. So, Bo, I like this idea. I like this idea a lot. To where Sean and I could be here, and then we could bring on 1 to 2 contractors, and we could line them up ahead of time, and then have them waiting, and then bring them up as they have questions. Bo, you're onto something here.
Well, I think it'd be great just to interview them, because the stories and the things I'm learning just from the academy side of meeting and really getting to know these fence companies.
Yeah,
it's inspirational. It's motivating. Some of the simplest stuff blows my mind. I'm like, oh wow, that's
absolutely
really cool. I'm a fence geek. I like talking about fence stuff. That's what
that's right.
Is, right?
Yes, that's right.
That's what I'm looking forward to next week so much. We're gonna
agreed.
Rub elbows with guys that are living and fighting the same fight we are.
Absolutely. So I met with Dan Hardy this morning. So Dan Hardy owns Hardy Fence. They're out of Kansas, kind of in the Wichita area, but not in Wichita. Anyway, he came by to kind of look through the new shop, and then we ended up just sitting for about 4 hours and talking shop, and at the end of it, Dan says, man, I just appreciate you so much. I learned so much. I said, Dan, I'm going to stop you right here. I learned just as much. So I thank you for showing up and allowing this conversation to happen. I think that's what happens, right? When we get into a conversation, we learn as much as we teach sometimes.
For sure. Yep.
So, Bo, I like this idea a lot. And when this happens, you will be our inaugural guest.
There it is.
As being the guy that came. So, Bo, do this. I'm going to ask you a favor. Email me. Let me think. Because this is going out live. So email me at info@ozfence.com. And I will reply from my personal account. But info@oz, Oscar Zebra, the word fence.com. Email me your contact information, and I'll get in touch with you personally. And let's get this set up. I like this idea a lot, Bo. Look at that. I like this. We're doing good things here.
We're getting it done.
Yep, I agree. I think the community would find a lot of value. And so that's why. So, Sean, I'm coming to talk in Nashville. I'm talking at your academy summit on Wednesday, and then at the university on Thursday. But we talked about this last night about how much time it's going to take and all that. I only really want to talk for half my time. And I want to get my thought out there. I want to hopefully give some knowledge, put knowledge out there.
Share some knowledge.
But share some knowledge. That's it. And the other half, I want to open up for Q&A and just see where that conversation goes.
Right.
Because ultimately, I think that's more valuable than, at least me, when I'm at a convention or when I'm listening to a speaker. I find way more value in the Q&A session than I do the pre-scripted speech. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So this retreat is the first one we've ever done, and I've been writing the timeline for it the past couple of days, and I have actually, at the end of every day, left an hour and a half. I'm like, I don't need to fill that. Like,
no.
I feel like I need to put something there. And I'm like, no, it's just like, let's talk questions and answers you got to have the time for it. Otherwise we're going to run into dinner. We're going to run into the next thing.
Yeah. Well, and here's what'll end up happening, Sean, is this has happened to all of us where, this usually happens at the restaurant, that dinner or wherever the dinner happens. And then next thing you know, they're like turning the lights off and shooing you out the door. They're like, guys, we want to go home, please. And you're like, what? We've only been here. Oh, God, we've been here 3 hours and we're just talking shop.
That's what's going to be so cool about this retreat. Cause we're going to do at the house all day, the class. And then we got lunch and dinner, but after dinner at the house, we're there. Like everyone has their own private room and suite there. So we're on this giant estate and, we're going to talk fence all night. I mean, there may be guys until 12 o'clock in the morning talking fence. I don't know.
I like that setup a lot. Yeah, I really do. I really do.
Looking forward to it.
So, Bo, I agree. The Q&A, I think there's so much value to be had. I like that a lot. All right, so Steve's giving feedback on let's see, what did he have? He had the Milwaukee M18. So he's saying he has no problem with wetwood.
Yep.
Very cool. Yep. Okay. Yeah, with the Milwaukee nailer to be specific. Hey, so I'd like to circle back around to the mechanic conversation because that's what's in my head right now, and I'll just continue drilling on it. When did you know? At what point did you say, you know what we need is a full-time mechanic? Like, was there what spurred that on?
So it wasn't my idea, and I did not fully embrace the idea at first. Actually, my gut reaction was, oh, heck no, I'm not hiring a full-time. I spent enough money in repair. I'm not going to put a full-time person on staff. Yeah, that's what my opinion was. And it was Josh Glover when he was working for me in Indiana, running our branch here. And he had a friend of his that was a mechanic. And I think he was looking for a job. That was right.
Okay.
And Josh was, like he always does, big heart, trying to help his buddies out. It was like trying to find a home for him here. And trying to sell me a way to bring him on. I'm like, what does he do? Well, he's a mechanic. You can always use a mechanic. I'm not going to hire a full-time mechanic every day. All out. He was like, yeah. And so my gut reaction was, oh no. But like anything, I like to calculate things. Just like when, the meal plan for the guys. I went back and put numbers to it. So I went back and I started doing some math privately after I told him no.
Yeah, right.
I went back and I'm thinking it through. Like, wait a minute. So I'm looking at all the money I spent, and that year was like $80,000 on repair bills.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay. And started breaking them down, how much I could save, maybe. And I was being conservative, save 25% here. And at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, we can able to save some money.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was wrong. I saved a lot more than I expected.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Even when, so I'll tell you where my mind's at, because it's probably where your mind is at. I don't know that we have enough for him to do, or her. I don't want for them to do 40 hours a week. That's my first thing. I don't know that there's enough to do. I mean, we have 5 vehicles, but then and all the equipment that comes along with it. That I have a buddy that's a mechanic. Now, granted, it's on semis and all that, but I hear about his Snap-on bills.
Yeah.
So. What?
So this was a great deal for me. I didn't have to go invest in a bunch of equipment. I mean, it worked out well. He had a lot of equipment, and he was willing to use his equipment.
Okay.
I had an older sales van that we were getting ready to retire. It was a Ford Transit.
Yeah.
And, say older, so 2015, and he really wanted this position. I'm going to be part of Team Blue, so he asked if I would let him drive the Ford Transit, put all of his equipment in it, and then he would work 45 hours a week, I think was the plan. And the rest is history. So to answer your question, would you have enough to keep him busy? Or busy? The answer to that, I can definitively tell you right now, I promise, yes.
Okay.
Positively. Okay. I promise. You will be amazed at the stuff. You find somebody that's handy and talented and, willing to roll his sleeves up and work on anything.
Yeah.
You'll find that just building jigs. I mean, he has actually started building a lot of tools for Mr. Vince Tools. So he's helped us out with the demand that's gone up through the roof for tools. It's been tough to keep up. So he's helping build tools. My son's building tools. The fab shop next door is. So he's really blossomed, He's there for the big repairs when we need him. He's there for the preventative maintenance when we need him. He's a fill-in guy. He's even gone out and helped crews on a job site when it's needed.
Okay.
Right? He's a guy that he can go run things to a crew. Like you could really find a use for him all hours a day. Like he can run around. You imagine there's so many things you can have him doing that you currently aren't having to do. You're not going to have him sit around. I promise you that.
Sure. Yeah. Right. No. Yeah. Yeah. And that's where my mind went initially is making sure there's enough to keep. Yeah. I can see that. Well, and
having them do a work schedule though, that is, you would really preferably like to find a weekend and evenings, a little bit of a mix there. You want them. Here's what I did learn is at first we'd had them evenings and weekends. And then at 8 a.m. or 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning when the truck wouldn't start.
Yeah.
Where's my maintenance guy? Oh, he's not scheduled to work.
He's not coming until this evening.
We need to think about this, okay? Because when are the times when I need him? Like when's the most important time? I need to be available in the morning just in case crew's got to get out the door.
Yep.
So he's been flexible with his hours, but he's also going to school. So it helps him. He can go to school, come and work. But having somebody available to transport things, pick up things for the crews, give you maintenance logs. He could even do inventory if you wanted. I mean, I could give you a ton of things he could do outside of running the wrenches.
How big of a space does he use?
So he's pretty thrifty with that. We share a space in the shop.
Okay.
And with the router and whatnot. So he doesn't have too much of a dedicated space. We just recently moved him into a 24-foot box truck cab. Like, what do you call that? The box.
Okay. The box portion of
We bought a truck, took that off, and then we put that on our lot. We put a flatbed on the truck. And he has all of his equipment in that. So that's his footprint, and that's in the yard.
Interesting. So a 2-car garage. So one of the buildings that we don't know what to do with right now is a 2-car garage. So that we were talking about putting concrete in there, but that doesn't seem like a great idea to store concrete in. Good grief, look at the snow.
My dog had to use the bathroom. I'm going to show you quick. Yeah, the 2-car garage would work great.
Well, and I'm thinking, and guys, I apologize because this content right now is purely me back and forth with Sean. But it's also attached to our tool crib area, what's going to become our tool crib area. So I could see that working on a lot of different areas.
Yep.
Sean, I feel like this happens every time where like me and you talk and I'm like, well, okay, I've got to, I'll see you later. I've got a lot of things to think about now. Yeah. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see. All right. So Bo did some follow-up, so I'd asked him about the nailer. So he's never had any issue with the Milwaukee and cedar or pine. Hardwoods like oak are a different story, but we never see that here. I'll definitely shoot you an email. Okay, perfect, Bo. I appreciate that. Yeah, so let's talk about different woods, Sean. What woods do you guys work with up there or over there?
Just cedar and Solio pine, man. That's about it.
Same thing. I wish we could get into redwood. Like that's I keep trying to find a way to make that work. So I talked to a guy, a fence company on the West Coast that also mills his own cedar. Like he owns a big cedar mill or not cedar mill, redwood mill. The problem is the shipping. You know, it's $10,000-$12,000 to get a truckload shipped over here. Yeah, and at that point, even if he was giving me a good deal on pickets, the shipping just makes it just totally unreasonable. I don't want to say unreasonable. He's doing me a big favor. Right. It makes it
impractical is what it does.
That's right.
Yep.
All right. So Justin DeSantis says, as a fence estimator, I'd love to hear you guys talk a bit about how your estimators are equipped. Yeah, I mean, we can have that conversation for sure. And I'll start this by saying I don't have any estimators.
I like that. I was going to say the same thing.
I have consultants. I don't have estimators. And I absolutely understand, Justin, that is semantics, right? Yeah. It's actually absolutely, I mean, there's synonyms and all that. But I don't want to sell anything. I do not want to sell anything because there's negative connotations that come along with sales and selling. I would love to consult to offer our services. And then if the client researches and takes our proposal into consideration and comes to the understanding or agreement that our solution is the best for their problem, then I'd love to be the one that builds that fence for them.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sell them. I hope that makes sense.
No, that's for sure. We changed all of our business cards many years ago to say fence consultants rather than estimators. And that's because the conversation needs to be a two-way conversation with the consumer, understanding the needs and you fulfill those needs and show them the benefits of using you.
Yeah.
And what you can offer them for their solution. So we
That's right.
pretty much we work with our clients in finding a solution to their problem, which is it's their decision. So we educate them. I guess what you're saying. We give them the information, and at the end of the day, they make what the best choice for them.
That's right. That's right. And and actually we don't. So my sister Sarah runs our residential, so she does the consultations. She also does some production work or the production scheduling, that sort of thing. So she's our client experience officer.
I like that.
So she's in charge of the client experience. One drawback of that title is she likes to inform me and the public that she's the CEO.
Well, it's accurate.
Well, except for I say, well, now here's the thing. We live in like a millennial age and we live in a new world to where experience is CXO because like that's the new age way. So you're the CXO.
I like it, CXO. It's even better. Well played.
Yeah. But no, she doesn't buy that. She firmly rebuts that by spelling it out for me. And so she says she's a CEO. So we like to have that conversation a lot.
Yeah.
But that's the thing though, is I want to make it perfectly clear. I mean, to her, and she actually came up with the experience portion, but I want to make it perfectly clear to her and to everyone else that her role, she is in charge of the client experience. Because I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Is we're worried and we need to be worried and we need to prioritize the experience. Right. Because I mean, like everybody knows, building fence is not tough. I mean, there's guys in every market that one or two guys in a truck that, with a Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards card, that's a fencing contractor. Yeah. So that part isn't difficult. Now we can talk about building it well and building it to last. That's a different conversation. But I believe first and foremost, what we offer is the best client experience. Right. And we take it a step further by saying our motto is we're a customer service company, that happens to build fence. Like that's our thing.
I love that.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but that's our whole thing. Oh, well, just that we don't do sales. And really, I like your point to where we ask what the problem is and we offer a solution.
Solutions. That's it.
That's what we do. We keep dogs and kids in the yard, or we keep dogs and kids out of the yard, and neighbors.
We educate, right? Because at the end of the day, our clients they don't know what we know about fence because they don't live it every day.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't even know what they should know. Like they're so limited on their knowledge. They just know they got to keep their dog in their yard, or their kid in their yard, or their kid out of the pool. But they don't understand the difference between different types of fence built by different types of company, built different ways.
Yep.
So let's just educate them on what we know, and they'll figure out what makes the most sense for them. That goes back to the argument I'll make in that I don't think it's fair for us to advertise, hey, we're the best fence company in the area. Hey, we're the number one fence company in the area.
Sure.
Because that's a perspective, and it's relative to what? Like best at what?
Right.
Number one at what? Who says you're number one? I think it's great advertisement say you're a great fence company or customer oriented company or we're accredited company, or there's a lot of different ways you can say that. But when you start saying I'm the best or number one, it's a perspective thing. And to that client, you might not be the best company for them. Sure. They might need something else that you can't provide.
Well,
or don't want to provide.
Well, that's the thing. If their problem is they're flipping a house and they need the cheapest fence they can have in that house so that they can maximize their profits.
You may not be
we're not the best fit.
No.
We're just not. And that's okay. Yeah. Like we're not going to be the perfect fit for every client because we can't be. You can't be everything to everyone. And I mean, we live in a market to where if we were the only fencing contractor, we'd drowned. Yeah. We would absolutely drown. So
can't keep up.
No, not at all. So his question, I guess, more about was estimator, how they are equipped. Sean, so you handle the sales process a little bit differently than we do. Why don't you start and then I'll just kind of say how we do it.
So currently, we're still running a lot of on-site consultations using a couple of estimating vehicles. So that for me, it's a twofer because those things are chromed out, wrapped billboards running around town. So there's a benefit to those things doing on-site consultations, that those things are running around all over the place.
Yep.
So, and then they're measuring on site in the yard, meeting with at least one consumer. I don't require that they both are there. Like some people say, both decision makers need to be there. We don't require a decision to be made the day of. That's more pressure sales. I came from that old school. My dad used to force me to get the contract signed when I was there.
Yep.
But sometimes you end up winning contracts you shouldn't have won and making deals you shouldn't have made, and selling things at the prices you shouldn't have sold them at because you're rushing to get the numbers on the paper to get them to sign the thing. So generally we meet with them and then we'll send them back a proposal. So our fence consultants will go back to the office and we have scheduled time for them. They'll run 3 or 4 a day max every day. And then they have scheduled time to work on those quotes and work their sales pipeline. So we don't want to just give somebody a price and move on. We want to give them, the best solution to their problem and then touch back with them multiple times and have time to follow through and check with them and see, did that solution meet your needs?
Yep.
Or is this a good fit for you and I? When they're on site, we use flags to mark where the location is. The moment they're measuring, this is where you want to go, right here, and put the flag in the ground, has our name and phone number. So all the neighbors can see who's building a fence in the backyard because they're all asking.
Yep.
I gotta let my dog back in. So we use the flags, and then we also use company cam to take a picture of where those flags are and of the environment, the lot layout, so that we have record of what we bid for the homeowner. And then that gets archived into a folder for everyone to see in the company. I can see that. If the job sells, the crew can see what there was written. There's video you can put on there. They can talk. A lot of times I'll do an estimate and I'll just talk and say they would like this, 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 and this, and watch out for that. And this, and all the notes you would have wrote down before are literally right there in a video.
Yep.
So
I like that.
We do have GeoDraw. We do use My Salesman in Florida with great success down there. It's a great program.
Yep.
But currently, we are still running in-person consultations primarily in
Sure. Okay. So, let me ask a follow-up. So I know, your production crews are 4-day work weeks, 4/10s.
Yep.
Are your consultants, are they 4/10s as well?
No. So they work 5 days a week, sometimes a little bit on Saturdays. Our office staff is the same way, traditional schedule, 5 days a week.
That makes sense.
Yep. Just the production team. We only do that because we want to maximize the amount of time on the job site. So we can go back and do. We want to get the majority of our jobs done in one day, and the longer we make a day, the more jobs we can get done in a single day.
Absolutely. I like that. I just wanted to ask that question because that was going on in my mind. Like, it makes sense to do consultants. So do you? So I'll share our process, and then we'll kind of compare notes. So our process is a little bit different, and mainly we changed it around post-pandemic or during pandemic. We'd always use My Salesman as a tool on our website to walk people through. We used it a lot. I tell you, we used it a lot at trade shows, at home shows and lawn and garden shows. People love to see the satellite image of their house.
Yep.
And then draw the fence, and it's a crowd pleaser for sure. But so we went to completely virtual consultations, to where the first step is the client uses the quote tool, draws the fence, submits their information. We then schedule a consultation call to where Sarah learns exactly why the fence is needed, what the problem is, how, if the solution that the client picked is the most, in Sarah's opinion, is the best solution, or she'll offer alternate solutions. And then from that point, the My Salesman quote tool is scary accurate.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about this, that a satellite flying through outer space took a picture of a yard, and it's accurate within 2 to 3 feet over the course of the whole yard.
Maybe even more than that. I typically do it in inches, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm just giving it a wider margin of error just to say, even if it were 2 to 3 feet, I'm fine with it.
Yep.
because we're saving a trip, we're saving it makes sense. And from the client's perspective, this is happening on their schedule.
Yeah.
So they did the quote tool during the evening when we wouldn't have been available, and they scheduled a consultation call. They can schedule it. It's a 15-minute call, and it can go longer, but we tell them it's a minimum of 15 minutes. So they could literally step out of the office, take a break, talk to us in their car about what's going on, and then we email them a proposal that day.
Yep.
And then if they view the proposal, if it matches, what they perceive as their needs, if it's the best solution for them, and they're ready to move forward, then we'd send them a contract and a deposit invoice. At that point, then we schedule the on-site consultation, the on-site review, because we are going on-site. We absolutely want to confirm that there's not a shed there that's not supposed to be, that there's not a drainage culvert we didn't see, or there's not anything like that. 9.9 times out of 10, there's not an issue.
Right.
Where the 0.1 time that there is an issue is, so we'll call utility locates ahead of that on-site review.
Yep.
So that we walk the project and we say, okay, well, one thing that neither one of us accounted for is there's a power line, a buried power going right down your property line. We can't dig on top of that power line. We actually can't dig within 2 foot on either side of that. In Missouri, the state law is you can't dig within 2 foot of a buried utility. And especially not electric. Electric scares the daylights out of me.
Right.
And if I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to ask any of my guys to do it. So we need to move this line. And we can have that conversation before our guys show up and are sitting there waiting for the decision to be made, that the client knows that this is an issue right off the bat. And so they can absolutely choose to cancel the project. I mean, we're not going to hold a percentage of their deposit. We're going to refund the thing entirely. But anyway, that gives us an opportunity to at least have that conversation. But that's the 0.1 time where something is out of whack. It's not a measurement thing. It's not a layout. They drew the layout. And now we confirm that with our county assessor. So our county assessor has a plat map with a superimposed satellite image of the house. So we can see the boundary lines. We can see that the county assessor says that their property width is actually 90 feet instead of 100 feet.
Yep.
So we can address that on the phone during the initial consultation call.
For sure.
So anyway, we still do an on-site review. It's just later on in the process. It allows us to get a lot more, proposals out in a day. And it saves time and mileage. But Sean, I absolutely understand, and I accept your point that our trucks being out in that neighborhood are beneficial.
Yeah.
By doing on-site consultations.
But you're doing them anyways. You're still doing it just on the sold ones.
That's right.
A little bit less, but just on sold ones, which is very. I like that. And so this year we're moving more towards something closer to what you're doing now. So we're rebuilding a new website. And the communication or the conversation with our clients is going to change this year and be more driven by them. So it's going to be more user friendly for them to use our website and measure their yard and price their project themselves. So much so that when they call the office, the new conversation once this is up and running is going to be, how can we help you? I want to get an estimate on my yard. Oh, fantastic! Here's the website. I'll walk you through it. So on the phone, if they want to schedule an on-site consultation, they have to fill out the information on the site and actually draw the fence. Or if they don't want to draw the fence, they have to enter numerically the lineal footage they think it'll be and a number of gates and click on a style of fence. That'll get them to the estimate program. So we're going to force them to use it and actually see a price before we ever schedule on-site. And see
that, absolutely. That's one of the benefits I skimmed over is that. So when the client goes through the quote tool, they're given a price range.
Yeah.
Right off before they send us their information that they want to schedule a call. Yeah, they see a price range. That the price is predetermined by the price that we input. And it's a percentage under and a percentage over for the price range. And if everything goes right, the way the percentages are set up in our program, we will always be on the lower end of that price range.
Generally.
So it gives us a little bit room above to where if we come out there and there's a minefield of rocks, we could say, well, this is a little different, right? Yeah. But it also typically it's a psychology thing too. to where if you see two numbers, a low and a high, your mind justifies or tries to justify the high number. So if we say, Mr. and Miss Client, the project's going to come between $8,500 and $10,000, or between $9,000 and $10,000, they're going to try to justify if that project is worth the $10,000. So then when I come in and I say, well, guess what? The project's going to come in at $9,300.
Yep.
In their mind, they go, oh, that's not even 10 grand. That's less than what I thought it would be. So there's some psychology there. But to your point, they see a price.
Right.
So that there's no sticker shock when we come in and we say the project is $9,300. The conversation isn't, well, I really thought this project would be $5,000 or $6,000. How can it be that much?
Yeah.
Now, at least at this point, they've already seen the pricing. They know what's coming for the most part.
I think it helps tremendously, right? So capture ratio goes up.
Right.
It's something we track. I mean, in depth capture ratio by product type, by fence consultant, all the way through. So we're watching that. And your capture is going to go through the roof if you already pre-qualify or vet.
Yeah.
Customers before you get there. Now we had a situation this week with a company that it's in the academy, a coaching company. They had a problem where they're receiving too many leads, and so they've exceeded the capacity of their team to go out and do these on-site consultations.
Yep, easy to do.
What was happening was they were getting the team member out there, but there was no follow-up happening. I mean, we're looking at it. We just got them on the sales pipeline, so we're looking at the sales pipeline, and this guy was running 25 estimates a week for the past 4 weeks, and actually lost 2 jobs because the customer said he never sent him a quote, and then he didn't know he didn't send him a quote, and they went with somebody else, and no follow-up, right? Because he has no time.
Right.
So,
right.
But his capture ratio was less than 20%.
Yeah.
And so we're analyzing this data, saying, okay, we got to try something unique here. One, we're not going to try to hire somebody right now and fill a new position. All right. So here's what we're going to do. What we decided to do was, and I've never tried this before, this is just us trying to come up with a solution with what the resources they had.
Sure.
Is that for 1 hour every single morning, that team member is to call the people back from yesterday. So they actually have a fence consultant appointment. Step 1 is you're going to talk to the fence consultant tomorrow morning between 8, you pick a time, 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, and they're going to talk to him, and he's going to talk through the project with him, and then decide if it's something he needs to go out there for, can answer the question on the phone, give a ballpark number to cut down on the number of leads, to get it back to 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Because the front office girls was having a hard time vetting them properly. And ones were getting through that weren't worth this time going out.
Yeah, I would guess, without knowing who it is and what the situation is, I would guess out of the 25 a week, at least 5 to 10 weren't qualified leads.
That's right.
They weren't going to be a customer no matter what.
And he's driving all over the place.
Right.
So and they have an online estimating tool online.
Sure.
They do.
Sure.
They use it, but their conversation isn't driven yet to make the consumer use it. It's just there, right?
We were there. That's how we used it in the beginning. It was more of a novelty than it was a step in the process.
Yeah. So we'll give it some time and see how this works out. See if we can do a better job of managing his time. At the end of the day, we got to give him time to give proper follow-up to increase the capture ratio with less leads.
Yep. You know, and here's the downside. I'm not going to talk about all the pros without talking about the cons. We will miss out on jobs that we may have won otherwise because they didn't want to follow the process.
Yep.
They wanted someone to come out tomorrow and meet with them because their time is important and their project is important, and they want personal interaction. And when we explain the process and in our script, we have answers for, well, you're not going to come out here. Well, I need you to come out here and see it. My project is special.
Yep.
Everyone's project is special. You know what I mean? And we have answers for those questions, but sometimes they just don't want any part of it.
Yeah, I know.
The thing is, here's my answer to that is everything we do as a company is a process, or it should be a process. Whether if they want to control the process right now, they're probably going to want to control the process later too. Scheduling is a process. Installation is a process. Us getting paid is a process.
Yep.
Our processes are not negotiable. We're going to install this fence as soon as we can. I'm not saying you're going to play by my rules. What I'm saying is when we schedule it, we can't negotiate that because there's other projects that scheduled before this project that they will come before yours. So that's not negotiable. And when we're done we require a deposit, and then when we're done, we require the second half of the payment when we're done. That's non-negotiable as well.
Yeah.
So, what we're finding is, there are people that just don't want to play by our rules or our plan. They don't want to follow the plan, and that's fine. The people that make it through the process are great to work with. They follow a process, they understand it. And when we're presenting it, it is, the first question is, how'd you hear about us? Well, I saw you on Google. Great. Did you get a chance to read our 47 5-star reviews?
Yep.
And yeah, I saw them. Okay, great. Can I explain? What is it? Would it be okay if I explain to you the process that leads us to more 5-star reviews than anything else?
Yep.
Great. It starts with the online quote tool. So the conversation is, here are the benefits to you, the client. This process leads to more 5 stars because it is a process. And some people don't want to have any part of that, and that's fine.
Yep.
They probably weren't an ideal client. They could be an ideal client for someone else. They absolutely could. Yep. And we probably do lose jobs. I don't want to sugarcoat this and say it's all rainbows, but the clients that do make it through are great to work with.
For sure.
So
slick. I like that.
Yeah, it's all in how you present it, right? You can present it the other way too. Hey, this is our process, and if you don't want to follow it, there's other companies in this town to build fence.
Yep.
That you could say that, but if you present it correctly, it works out well. So now this is interesting. So Justin goes on to say, we use estimator because salesman and consultant have a negative have negative connotations. Estimator seems accurate. So one thing that could be, Justin, is that could be a regional thing also, right? The terminology could vary regionally.
Yeah, my experience is the word consultant normally means you're gonna pay for a service. A consultant you're gonna pay for.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's some conversation to be had whether or not, one time we did charge for on-site consultation.
Yeah.
That was refundable, and there's some thought that we may end up going back to that too.
And that's a great qualification tool.
You're teaching them how to interact with you. So if you expect me to do this all for free, maybe we're not starting off. But if you're really serious about the project, you're going to invest something into it, skin in the game, then it shows me your interest level. So there's you can at least have a conversation about it and consider whether it's right for you or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So Justin goes on to say, so that's pretty much how they do it. They get a range, but no firm price until someone puts eyes on the property. So that's fair. Absolutely. So they keep 6 consultants on staff and dedicated vehicles. So this is a sizable company. I'd love to discuss the difference in our process with you sometime. Absolutely. So how many consultants do you guys have there, Mr. Fence?
So 2, unless you count me, then I'm the third one.
Yeah.
Then we have Heather, who goes around and helps me out too, measuring some things. So
sure.
Dedicated 2.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we're to the point. We're probably to the point of needing one more. It would be since we do the virtual, it makes it more manageable. And also something I'm interested in talking to you more about and on a different time, Sean, is the workflow, what the workflow looks like. So Sarah handles the consultations, but she also handles like the project management portion of it, the scheduling, the follow-up, she handles all the client interaction.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is, but her point being, she likes there being one point of contact.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have a problem with, or a question about scheduling, they have a question about the installation, if they have a question about the billing, they call her and she's got the answer.
Yeah.
So I understand it from that perspective. My thinking though is that's not a scalable process.
That's the thing. Yeah. That goes back to the owner operator argument I have oftentimes. Not an argument, that's a conversation.
No, conversation. Yeah.
With people, with guys in the defense industry working their tail off for so many years. They're like, I'm just fucking not getting anywhere. And you've done very well as an artist, but that's not scalable.
Absolutely.
You decide what it is you're looking for. And if you want to scale it, you may have to give some of that up. And same thing with her. If you guys are really going to try to scale it, and she's going to have to maybe give some of those processes up, pieces.
Sure.
And manage how do you get predictable results measurable and repeatable if you're not handling every piece of it. And that's going to come down to what's the process. I mean, you do a great job with processes already. You just got to come up with one that's got another part in there and someone else.
Yeah. And I think that's right. Is they'll need to be a handoff process.
Yep.
And it's all manageable. It's just creating the process ahead of time so that it's seamless.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Justin, we'd love to answer any other questions you got. Probably not tonight. So it's actually 6:00. So
it's pretty late.
We're a solid half hour past when we usually like to wrap this thing up. But this is what happens when fence guys get to talking fence.
Yep.
And for me, like, process is something that just gets my gears moving in that direction. And then I ask a bunch of questions, and this turns into just me asking Sean questions. So, Sean, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being willing to jump on like this. I think this has been really great.
It's good stuff. I appreciate it. And I'll see you next week. Yeah,
I look forward to meeting with you guys next week. Guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in and sticking with us. It's been almost 3 hours of this. So I appreciate you guys, those of you that stuck around the whole time. If you guys are watching this on recording, if you guys have questions, drop a comment in the comments below. I always watch the comments. I love to interact with you guys. But yeah, if you got any more questions, drop in the comments below. We will be doing a live next week. From the University of Fence Installation School. We'll have a panel of experts all together, and we'll be answering your fence questions live. So
that's good.
I look forward to that.
Yep. Awesome.
Sean, thank you again.
Right.
I really appreciate your time. Guys, I'm reminding you, I'm Joe Everett, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. We'll talk to you guys later.